He thought it was the end, until a dog appeared and saved his life. Michael Johnson felt the icy water of the Hudson River flooding his lungs as everything began to fade. The 28-year-old had lost the strength to keep swimming, and the current pulled him deeper and deeper. His arms felt like lead and he could no longer fight the water swallowing him whole. That's when he felt something tugging hard on his shirt. A golden-coated dog was beside him, gripping the navy blue fabric of his shirt and dragging him toward the shore. The animal panted but refused to let go, determined to pull him to safety. Michael could barely keep his eyes open, but he sensed someone was fighting for his life when he had already given up. Minutes later, the young man lay on the damp grass by the riverbank, coughing up water and gasping for air. The dog stayed by his side, licking his face as if to make sure he was okay. It was a medium-sized mutt with golden fur and intelligent, affectionate brown eyes. "Thank you," Michael whispered breathlessly, stroking the dog's head. "You saved me." The dog wagged its tail and lay down beside him, as if it understood exactly what had happened. Michael closed his eyes for a moment, trying to process what he'd just lived through. An hour earlier, he'd been walking across the bridge, staring at the water below, thinking maybe it was better to end it all. Michael's life had completely fallen apart in recent weeks. After years working as a civil engineer for a small construction company in Hoboken, he'd been laid off without cause. The company was struggling financially, and he was one of the first to go, despite being dedicated and skilled at his job. But the layoff was just the first domino to fall. Soon after, his girlfriend Jessica broke up with him, saying she couldn't handle the financial strain anymore and needed someone more stable in her life. They'd been together for 3 years, and Michael had thought she was the woman he'd marry and start a family with. As if that weren't enough, his landlord had raised the rent by 40%, forcing him to move into a tiny room in the back of his Aunt Deborah's house in Mayfield Heights. It was cramped, with just a single bed, a small wardrobe, and a tiny bathroom he shared with other tenants. Michael ran his fingers through the wet fur of the dog that had just saved his life. The animal seemed to have no owner. It was thin, with a few scratches on its body, but its eyes shone with a vitality he envied. "You're alone in this world too, huh?" he murmured to the dog. "We're both lost." He stood up slowly, his legs still shaky. He glanced at the dark river water and shuddered at what had almost happened. If not for this unknown animal, he wouldn't be here now. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. Michael started walking toward the street, and the dog followed naturally, as if it had decided they were a pair now. The young man stopped and looked at the animal. "You can't come with me," he said, though his voice didn't sound very convincing. "I can barely take care of myself." The dog tilted its head as if confused about why it couldn't join him. Michael sighed and kept walking, but the sound of paws on the sidewalk behind him confirmed the dog had decided to follow anyway. The walk to Aunt Deborah's house took nearly an hour. Michael now lived in the south side of New York City, in a modest neighborhood where the houses were row homes and the streets were narrow. His aunt's house was painted light blue, with a small fence out front and a garden she tended with care. When Michael opened the gate, the dog walked in right beside him, as if this were his home too. Aunt Deborah, a 62-year-old woman with graying hair always tied in a bun, appeared at the kitchen door drying her hands on a dish towel. "Michael, my dear, you're soaking wet. What happened?" she asked, concerned. "I fell in the river, Aunt, but I'm okay," he replied, avoiding details. "This dog helped me get out." Aunt Deborah eyed the animal warily. She was a practical woman who had raised 3 children alone after her husband left her, and wasn't one for sentimentality. "Michael, you know I can't have pets here. The other tenants will complain, and I can't afford dog food." "I know, Aunt. Tomorrow I'll find him a home," Michael lied, knowing full well he had no idea how to do that. That night, Michael lay in his narrow bed while the dog settled on the floor beside him. The young man had given the dog a bath and improvised a bowl with water and some leftovers he found in the fridge. "What should I call you?" Michael asked in the dark. "You came out of nowhere and saved my life. How about Miracle?" The dog perked up his ears as if he liked the name. Michael smiled for the first time in weeks. It was strange how the presence of this animal made him feel less alone. The next morning, Michael woke to the sound of raised voices in the kitchen. He dressed quickly and stepped out of the room, leaving Miracle hidden inside. "I don't care if that animal saved your nephew's life, Mrs. Deborah," a shrill-voiced woman was saying. "I pay rent here, and I won't tolerate a dog barking all night." It was Sharon, a 45-year-old tenant who lived in the room next to Michael's. She worked as a cleaner in an office downtown and always complained about everything from noisy neighbors to the shower's water temperature. "Sharon, the dog didn't even bark," Aunt Deborah defended, "and it's just temporary until Michael finds him a home." "Temporary?" Sharon scoffed. "Everyone knows once you get attached to a mutt, they stay forever. I've been through it before." Michael walked into the kitchen and nodded at both women. He poured himself a black coffee and listened to the argument, guilt weighing on him for causing trouble for his aunt. "Good morning, Sharon," he said, trying to be polite. "Good morning, my foot," she snapped, crossing her arms. "Either you get rid of that dog today, or I find another place to live. Then you'll have to explain to your aunt why she lost a tenant, who always pays on time." Sharon's threat was serious. Aunt Deborah relied on the rent money to get by, and losing a tenant would be a hard blow to her finances. Michael knew he had no choice. "Fine," he said reluctantly. "I'll find him a place today." After Sharon left for work, Michael returned to his room and found Miracle sitting on the bed, as if sensing something was wrong. The young man sat beside the dog and stroked him sadly. "I'm sorry, buddy. I wish I could keep you, but things are complicated." Michael spent the morning calling pet shops and animal shelters, but the answers were all the same. No space available, or they required a donation fee he couldn't afford. He'd been unemployed for a month, and his savings had run out fast. By afternoon, he decided to walk around the neighborhood with Miracle, hoping to find someone willing to take the dog in. They passed by several houses, but all attempts were unsuccessful. Some people didn't even open the door, while others said they already had pets. At one house with a well-kept garden, a white-haired woman named Mrs. Grace welcomed them warmly. She was about 70 years old, wore a floral dress, and seemed to love animals. "What a beautiful dog," she said, bending down to pet Miracle. "He looks very smart." "He is," confirmed Michael, hopeful. "He saved me from drowning yesterday. He's a very special animal." Mrs. Grace smiled and kept petting the dog, who wagged his tail and tried to lick her hand. "I'd love to keep him," she said, and Michael's heart raced with joy. "But I travel often to visit my children. I'll be spending 2 months at my daughter's place in Rochester, and I can't take the dog with me." Michael's hope vanished quickly. He thanked Mrs. Grace and continued searching, but the rest of the afternoon was just as fruitless. When night fell, Michael was sitting on a bench in the neighborhood square, with Miracle lying at his feet. The young man looked at the animal and felt a tightness in his chest. How could he abandon the one who had saved his life? "Michael?" a woman's voice called. He looked up and saw Amanda, an old college classmate from engineering school. She was walking with a shopping bag and seemed surprised to see him there. "Amanda, what a coincidence," he said, forcing a smile. "Wow, it's been so long," she said, approaching and noticing the dog. "How adorable. Is he yours?" "Well, kind of," Michael replied, unsure how to explain the situation. Amanda sat beside him on the bench, and Miracle immediately sniffed her hand. The young woman laughed and started petting him. "He's so affectionate," she remarked. "What breed is he?" "Mutt," said Michael, "but he's the most special dog I've ever known." "You always loved animals," Amanda recalled. "In college, you said you wanted a dog once you had your own place." Michael smiled sadly. That dream now seemed farther away than ever. Amanda noticed something was wrong. "Are you okay? You seem a little down." Michael hesitated for a moment, but ended up telling her about losing his job, the breakup, and the struggles he was facing. Amanda listened attentively, without judgment. "Wow, Michael, that's a rough patch," she said, lightly touching his arm. "But you're a skilled engineer. I'm sure a better opportunity will come soon." "I hope so," he murmured. "Listen, maybe I can help," Amanda said thoughtfully. My brother works at a mid-sized construction company here in the area. They need someone for a new project. The pay isn't the best, but it could be a fresh start. Michael felt a flicker of hope. Any job would be welcome right now. "You'd do that for me?" he asked, touched. "Of course. We've been friends since college," Amanda smiled. "I'll talk to him tomorrow. But there's one condition: you have to look presentable for the interview. No defeated face." "You got it," Michael promised. "Thank you so much, Amanda. You have no idea how much this means to me." After Amanda left, Michael felt more optimistic. If he got the job, maybe he could rent his own place and keep Miracle. The dog seemed to sense his owner's improved mood and wagged his tail happily. But when they returned to Aunt Deborah's house, a new disappointment awaited them. Sharon was in the living room, chatting animatedly with the homeowner, and didn't look pleased at all. "Michael, we need to talk," Aunt Deborah said in a serious tone. They sat at the kitchen table while Miracle stayed outside in the yard. Sharon stood with her arms crossed and a determined look on her face. "Jessica told me her dog destroyed her garden today," Aunt Deborah began. "Dug holes in the plants and knocked over the clothesline." Michael looked at Sharon, confused. "What do you mean Miracle was with me all day?" "Don't lie to your aunt," said Sharon, indignant. "I came home early from work and saw it with my own eyes. The mutt was digging right by my window." "That's impossible," Michael insisted. "We left right after you went to work and only just got back." "Are you calling Sharon a liar?" asked Aunt Deborah, visibly annoyed. Michael found himself in a tough spot. He knew Miracle hadn't done any of it, but he had no way to prove it. Sharon seemed determined to cause trouble, and his aunt was clearly siding with the tenant. "Maybe it was another dog," Michael suggested. "Nonsense," Sharon said. "I'd recognize that animal anywhere. He has a dark spot on his left ear that's unmistakable." It was true Miracle had that distinctive mark, but Michael remained convinced the dog was being unfairly accused. Still, he realized he was losing the battle. "My boy," Aunt Deborah said, regretfully, "I really like the dog, but I can't risk losing Sharon as a tenant. You'll have to find another place for him." "Aunt, please," Michael pleaded. "Just give me one more day. I promise I'll figure this out by tomorrow." Aunt Deborah sighed and looked at Sharon, who shook her head. "One day," Aunt Deborah agreed, reluctantly. "But by tomorrow night, either the dog goes or you both go." Michael felt his world crumbling again. Not only was he about to lose Miracle, but he also risked losing his place to live. He went up to his room with the dog and stayed, awake all night, trying to find a solution. The next morning, Michael woke up determined to settle everything once and for all. First, he called Amanda to ask about the job opening. The answer was encouraging. Her brother had agreed to interview him that very afternoon. "He said he knows your work by reputation," Amanda told him over the phone. "Apparently, you indirectly worked together on a project 2 years ago. He was impressed by your dedication." Michael vaguely remembered the project. It was a housing development his old company had provided technical consulting for. If his reputation was good, maybe he really had a chance at the job. He spent the whole morning preparing for the interview, took a long shower, shaved, and picked out his best clothes. Miracle watched him closely, as if understanding the day was important. "If I get this job, we can stay together," Michael told the dog. "I just need you to bring me luck." The interview was at 2 in the afternoon, so Michael had time to take Miracle out for one last attempt to find someone willing to care for him temporarily. They walked through the neighborhood streets, stopping at several houses and talking to people. On a quieter street, Michael met a middle-aged woman named Pamela, watering the plants in front of her house. She had short hair and a kind smile, and Miracle immediately went up to her. "What a well-behaved dog," Pamela remarked, petting Miracle's head. "Does he have an owner?" "That'd be me," Michael said, "but I'm in a tough spot and need someone to look after him for a few days." Pamela listened carefully to Michael's story. She was a widow, lived alone, and admitted she'd missed having a pet since her cat passed away the year before. "I can take him for a week," she offered, "but just a week, because I'm traveling to visit my mother in the countryside." It was better than nothing. Michael accepted the offer and arranged to pick up Miracle the following Sunday. He said goodbye to the dog with a heavy heart, promising to return soon. "Take good care of Pamela," he whispered into Miracle's ear, "and I'll take care of getting that job for us." The interview at the construction firm Johnson & Partners went better than Michael expected. Amanda's brother, Richard, was a friendly and straightforward man in his 40s. He genuinely remembered Michael's work and was impressed with his resume. "We're starting a residential condominium project," Richard explained. 500 units, full infrastructure. We need someone to oversee the structural work. "I've worked on similar projects before," Michael said confidently. "I have experience with special foundations and complex drainage systems." "Perfect," Richard smiled. "The starting salary is $4,000, but there's room for raises as the project progresses. Can you start on Monday?" Michael could hardly believe it. Not only had he gotten the job, but the pay was better than he'd imagined. He shook Richard's hand enthusiastically and thanked him for the opportunity. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now, back to the story. When he left the construction firm, Michael was overjoyed. He immediately called Amanda to thank her, and then rushed to Pamela's house to share the good news with Miracle. The dog leaped with joy when he saw him, as if he knew something wonderful had happened. "We did it, buddy," Michael said, hugging the dog. "Now we can start looking for a place of our own." Pamela was happy with the news and said Miracle had been an angel during those few hours. The dog had played in the yard, eaten the food she bought, and even helped shoo away a cat that was messing with her plants. "He's very special," Pamela said. "You two make a perfect pair." Michael walked back to Aunt Deborah's house with Miracle by his side, feeling optimistic for the first time in weeks. When he told her about the job, Aunt Deborah got emotional, and even Sharon seemed less hostile. "That's wonderful, dear," Aunt Deborah said, hugging her nephew. "I knew things would work out." "What about the dog?" Sharon asked, still suspicious. "I've already found a temporary caretaker," Michael lied, not wanting to go into details. "He'll be gone tomorrow." That night, Michael calculated his finances. With his new salary, he could rent a small apartment in a few months after saving up for the deposit and fees. In the meantime, he'd have to find a temporary solution for Miracle, but his plans fell apart the next morning. When he woke up, Michael found Aunt Deborah in the kitchen with a worried expression. "Michael, I need to tell you something," she said, avoiding his gaze. "What is it, Auntie?" "Sharon talked to me last night. She's thinking about moving to an apartment downtown. It would be closer to her work." A chill ran through Michael's stomach. "So? Well, if she leaves, I'll have to raise your rent to make up for the loss," Aunt Deborah said awkwardly, "or find another tenant quickly." "How much of an increase?" Michael asked, dreading the answer. $300, Aunt Deborah replied. "I know it's a lot, but I depend on that money to get by." Michael did the math quickly. Even with the new job, an extra $300 in rent would stretch his budget to the limit. He'd barely have enough to cover his expenses, let alone save for a deposit on another place. "Auntie, I just got this job. I can't take on such a big commitment right away," he tried to reason. "I understand, dear." "But I also can't lose money," Aunt Deborah said sadly. "If you can't pay, maybe it's better for you to look for another place." Michael Johnson felt cornered again. He had just gotten a job, but now he risked being left without a place to live. And he still had to figure out Miracle's situation. He spent the whole Saturday looking for alternatives. He called some college friends, but none had space available. He checked room rental ads in the newspaper, but they all cost more than he could afford. In the afternoon, he was walking with Miracle through the neighborhood center when he saw a flyer posted on a pole. "Caretaker wanted for property. Offers housing in exchange for maintaining the property and caring for animals." Michael wrote down the number and called immediately. The person who answered was a deep-voiced older man named Oswald. "The property is about 15 miles from the city," Oswald explained. "It's not big, just around an acre. There's a simple house, but it has everything you need. The work involves taking care of the chickens, the garden, and keeping everything clean." "What about pets?" Michael asked. "You can have them, no problem," Oswald said. "Actually, it's even better. The place is a bit isolated, so a dog helps scare off intruders. It seemed too good to be true. Michael arranged to visit the property Sunday morning, taking Miracle along to see how he'd adjust. The property was in the Bayonne area, a rural spot that still had a countryside feel. The house was simple but comfortable, with 2 bedrooms, a living room, a kitchen and a bathroom. There was a chicken coop with about 20 chickens, a vegetable garden, and plenty of space for Miracle to run and play. Oswald was a 65-year-old, retired man who had inherited the property from his father, but could no longer manage it alone due to health issues. He lived in the city with his daughter and only visited on weekends. "The work isn't hard," Oswald explained, showing him around. "Feed the chickens twice a day, water the garden, collect the eggs. On weekends I come by and help with general upkeep." "What about transportation to work?" Michael asked. "There's a bus every hour to Hoboken," Oswald said. "The stop is about 500 yards from here. Takes about 40 minutes to get downtown." Michael looked at Miracle, who was running freely across the land, chasing butterflies and sniffing everything curiously. The dog seemed to be in paradise. "Can I give you an answer tomorrow?" Michael asked. "Sure," Oswald agreed, "but don't take too long. There are other people interested." On the way back, Michael weighed the pros and cons. Living on the property would be a radical change in his life, but at least he'd have a place to stay without paying rent, and Miracle could stay with him. The commute would be a little tricky, but not impossible. When he got home, Aunt Deborah was in the living room, watching TV. She turned it off when she saw him come in. "Michael, Sharon came by again," she said. "She wants an answer about the rent by tomorrow night." "Auntie, I found an alternative," Michael told her about the property. Aunt Deborah looked worried. "Honey, are you sure? Living so far away, not really knowing this person." "It's temporary," Michael assured her. "Just until I save up enough to rent an apartment in the city." "What if this man is dishonest? What if he tries to trick you?" Michael understood his aunt's concern, but he felt he didn't have many options. His new job started Monday and he needed a place to live with Miracle. "I'll try it, Auntie," Michael decided. "If it doesn't work out, we'll figure something. Help's out." On Monday morning, Michael called Oswald and accepted the offer. They agreed he'd move in on Wednesday after settling into his new job. Michael spent the first 2 days working at the construction company and adjusting to his new routine. The job at Johnson & Partners was demanding but rewarding. Michael was introduced to the team and quickly integrated into the residential condominium project. Richard had been honest about the complexity of the work, but Michael felt confident in his skills. On Wednesday afternoon, he moved to the farm. His belongings fit into 2 suitcases and a few boxes that Oswald helped transport in his pickup truck. Miracle rode in the truck bed, his head out the window, enjoying the wind and rural scenery. "Welcome to St. Mary Farm," Oswald said when they arrived. "I hope you'll be happy here." The adjustment was easier than Michael expected. Miracle fell in love with the place immediately, running through the fields and befriending the chickens. Michael established a routine, waking at 5:30, tending to the animals, catching the 7 o'clock bus to work, returning at 6 in the evening, and taking care of the property again. The first few weeks were peaceful. Michael was enjoying his new job and his financial situation was stabilizing. He managed to save a small amount each month and hoped that in 6 months he'd have enough money to move back to the city. But the peace didn't last long. One Friday, when Michael came home, he found Oswald waiting for him with a serious expression. "Michael, we need to talk," the older man said. They sat on the porch while Miracle played in the yard. Oswald seemed nervous and avoided looking directly at Michael. "What's wrong, Mr. Oswald? Is there a problem?" "It's about the farm," Oswald began. "My daughter is pressuring me to sell the property." Michael's stomach twisted. "Sell? Well, a buyer has come forward. A company that wants to turn this area into a housing development," Oswald explained. "They're offering a very good price." "What does that mean for me?" Michael asked, already dreading the answer. "It means you might have to find another place," Oswald said, embarrassed. "I tried to negotiate with them so you could stay until the end of the year, but they want to take possession immediately." Michael felt like he'd been punched in the gut. Once again, Just when things seemed to be working out, a new problem arose to destroy his plans. "When do they want me to leave?" "By the end of the month," Oswald replied. "I know it's short notice, but they won't wait." There were only 2 weeks left in the month. Michael would have to find another place for him, and Miracle in a record time, and he still hadn't saved enough for a rental deposit. "Mr. Oswald, can't you turn down the offer?" Michael tried. "Son, I wish I could help," Oswald said sadly. "But the money they're offering will secure my daughter's and grandchildren's future. I can't pass that up." Michael understood Oswald's situation, but it didn't lessen his frustration. Once again, he'd have to start from scratch, and this time with even less time to prepare. That night, Michael stayed up late, crunching numbers and trying to find a solution. He still didn't have enough money to rent an apartment, and going back to Aunt Deborah's house wasn't an option since Sharon still lived there. On Saturday morning, he decided to go into town to look for alternatives. He left Miracle at the farm with Oswald and took the bus to Hoboken. He spent the whole day searching for ads for rooms and studio apartments, but everything was beyond his budget. It was getting dark when Michael decided to head back to the farm. On the bus, he felt defeated once again. It seemed like every time he managed to get back on his feet, something happened to knock him down again. When he arrived at the property, he found a scene that left him even more worried. Miracle was in the yard but seemed agitated and restless. Oswald was on the porch with a tense expression. "What happened?" asked Michael. "Some men came by this afternoon," said Oswald. "They said they were from the company buying the property. They wanted to inspect it." "And what's the problem?" "They didn't like seeing the dog here at all," Oswald explained. "They said once they take over, they won't allow any animals on the land." Michael felt a wave of anger. "But they haven't even bought the place yet." I know," said Oswald, raising his hands. "I told them you'd be leaving by the end of the month anyway, but they insisted the dog has to go immediately." "What do you mean immediately?" "They said if the dog is still here by Monday, they'll cancel the purchase," Oswald replied, visibly distressed. Michael couldn't believe what he was hearing. Now, on top of having to leave the property, he had just 2 days to find a place for Miracle. "Mr. Oswald, this is blackmail," Michael protested. "I know, son, but I can't risk losing this sale," Oswald said, pleading for understanding. "You have to see my side." Michael looked at Miracle, who had come over and was sitting by his legs, as if sensing something was wrong. The young man stroked the dog's head, feeling a mix of anger and despair. "All right," Michael said resignedly. "I'll figure something out." On Sunday morning, Michael woke up with an idea. He called Pamela, the woman who had watched Miracle for a few hours weeks earlier. Maybe she could take the dog temporarily until he got back on his feet. "Hi, Pamela. It's Michael. Miracle's owner, remember?" "Of course I remember," she said cheerfully. "How are you both?" Michael explained the situation and asked if she could take Miracle for a few weeks. Pamela was silent for a moment. "Michael, I'd love to help," she finally said. "But something came up. My mum in the countryside got sick and I'll have to spend a few months there taking care of her." "When are you leaving?" Michael asked hopefully. "Tomorrow," Pamela replied. "Actually, I was packing when you called." Another door closed. Michael thanked her and hung up, feeling more trapped than ever. He spent the rest of Sunday trying to reach other people, but with no luck. On Monday morning, Michael went to work with a heavy heart. He'd left Miracle at the property, hoping to find a solution during the day. At work, he tried to focus on his tasks, but his mind kept drifting back to the dog's predicament. During lunch, he called several kennels and pet shops, but all required boarding fees he couldn't afford. Some non-profits said they only took in strays, not temporary cases like his. In the afternoon, Richard noticed Michael seemed distracted and pulled him aside. "Everything okay? I seem worried," said Amanda's brother. Michael hesitated but eventually explained his situation. Richard listened carefully and seemed genuinely concerned. "That's rough," Richard said. "Look, I can't take the dog myself. My wife's allergic to pet hair. But I might know someone who can help." "Really?" Michael perked up. "One of our clients, Dr. Anthony, is a vet," Richard said. "He runs a clinic nearby and often helps people in tough spots. Let me call him." Richard picked up the phone and dialed. Michael listened to only one side of the conversation, trying to decipher from Richard's expressions whether the news was good or bad. "Dr. Anthony, this is Richard from Johnson & Partners. Okay, thank you. Listen, I have an employee here who's having a problem with his dog." The conversation lasted a few minutes. Richard asked several questions about Miracle and explained Michael's situation in detail. When he hung up, he was smiling. "Dr. Anthony wants to meet you," Richard said. "He said he might be able to help. His clinic is at 156 Maple Avenue. You can go there after work." Michael felt a flicker of hope. Maybe there was still a solution to his problems. When he left work, Michael rushed to the farm, picked up Miracle, and headed to the veterinary clinic. The place was small but well organized, with a cozy waiting room and several pictures of animals on the walls. Dr. Anthony was a man around 50 years old, with graying hair and glasses. He greeted Michael and Miracle with a warm smile and immediately knelt to examine the dog. "What a beautiful animal," the vet said, petting Miracle. "He looks healthy and well cared for." "He saved my life," Michael shared. "Literally. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be here today." Dr. Anthony listened to Michael's full story, from the day Miracle saved him in the river to his current housing problems. The vet asked occasional questions and observed the interaction between Michael and the dog. "It's clear you two have a special bond," Dr. Anthony remarked. "Miracle clearly loves and trusts you." "I love him too," Michael said, emotional. "But I don't know what else to do. I need to find a place for him until I can get back on my feet." "I understand your situation," Dr. Anthony said thoughtfully. "Have you tried looking for temporary homes?" "I've tried everything," Michael replied. "No one can help, and I don't have money to pay for boarding at a kennel." Dr. Anthony fell silent for a moment, watching Miracle, who was lying at Michael's feet, completely relaxed. "Listen, I have a proposal," the vet finally said. "But you need to understand I can't guarantee anything." "I'll take anything," Michael said desperately. "I have a friend who works with dog training," Dr. Anthony explained. "He's always looking for smart animals to join his programs. Miracle seems very bright. How would that help me? If Miracle is accepted into the program, he'd stay at my friend's kennel during the week and could come home with you on weekends," Dr. Anthony said. "It's a kind of partnership. You wouldn't pay anything and your dog would even get professional training." Michael couldn't believe what he was hearing. It sounded too good to be true. "Is there a catch?" Michael asked suspiciously. "No catch," Dr. Anthony laughed. "But there are a few details. First, Miracle would have to pass an evaluation to see if he's suited for training. Second, if he's accepted, you'd have to sign a contract agreeing to the program's conditions." "What kind of conditions?" "Mainly about the animal's well-being," Dr. Anthony explained. "My friend takes that very seriously. And there's also a clause stating that if you fail to meet your commitments or don't pick up the dog, on weekends without notice, he can cancel the agreement." Michael thought quickly. It was a unique chance to keep Miracle close while sorting out his housing and financial stability. "When would this evaluation be?" he asked. "I can call him right now," Dr. Anthony said. "If he's available, you can go there today." Michael looked at Miracle, who watched him with intelligent brown eyes as if understanding that his life was being decided at that moment. "Let's give it a try," Michael decided. Dr. Anthony called his friend and spoke for a few minutes. "When?" He hung up. He was smiling. "You're in luck," he said. "Robert is at the training center now and can see you. It's in the Mercyville neighborhood, about 20 minutes from here." The Faithful Friends Training Center was in a large house with a spacious backyard. There were several training obstacles scattered around the property, and a few dogs, practicing exercises with their trainers. Robert was a strong man around 40 years old, with a firm posture but a gentle gaze. He greeted Michael and immediately turned his attention to Miracle, observing his stance and behavior. "First, I'll run some basic tests," Robert explained. "Nothing complicated, I just want to see how he responds to simple commands in different situations." Over the next half hour, Robert tested Miracle in various ways. He checked how the dog responded to calls, whether he came when called, and if he obeyed basic commands like sit and stay. He also tested Miracle's reaction to loud noises and unexpected situations. "He's exceptional," Robert said, impressed. "I rarely see an animal with this level of intelligence and focus, and his bond with you is very strong." "Does that mean he's accepted?" Michael asked hopefully. "More than accepted," Robert smiled. "I'd love to have Miracle in my program. He has the potential to become one of the best dogs I've ever trained." Michael felt a mix of relief and pride. Miracle had passed the test and now had a safe place to stay. "What are the conditions?" Michael asked. "He'll stay here Monday through Friday," Robert explained. "You can pick him up Friday evening and bring him back Monday morning. During the week, he'll have 2 training sessions a day, plus physical exercises and socialization with other dogs." "And the cost?" "For you, nothing," Robert said. "In fact, if Miracle does well, I might even pay a small monthly fee. Well-trained dogs sometimes participate in demonstrations and events that generate income." Michael could hardly believe his luck. Not only did Miracle have a place to stay, but he might even bring in some extra money. "When can he start?" Michael asked. "Tomorrow, if you'd like," Robert said. "But first, I'll need you to sign the contract and bring Miracle's vaccination records." Michael explained that he didn't have the records because he had found Miracle on the street, but Robert said it wouldn't be a problem. They could get all the necessary vaccinations at Dr. Anthony's clinic and bring the paperwork later. That evening, Michael returned to the farm with a lighter heart. He had solved the most urgent problem and now had time to find a new place to live. Oswald was relieved when he heard Miracle would be leaving the next morning. "You found a good solution," the older man said, "and the dog will be well taken care of." On Tuesday morning, Michael took Miracle to the veterinary clinic for all the necessary vaccinations. Dr. Anthony examined the dog thoroughly and said he was in perfect health. "He'll do very well in Robert's program," the vet said. "You made the right decision." That afternoon, Michael took Miracle to the training center. It was hard to say goodbye, even though he knew it was temporary and they'd see each other again on the weekend. "Be a good student," Michael said, hugging the dog. "And remember, I'll come get you on Friday." Miracle wagged his tail and licked Michael's face, as if trying to reassure him. Robert promised to call if there were any problems and said Michael could visit whenever he wanted. With Miracle's issue temporarily resolved, Michael could focus on finding a new place to live. He had less than 2 weeks to leave the farm and still hadn't found anything within his budget. Over the next few days, Michael dedicated all his free time to searching for a home. He looked at online listings, newspapers, asked co-workers, and even posted flyers in supermarkets and bakeries. On Thursday, just as he was about to give up, Michael got a call from an unknown number. "Hello, is this Michael, the one looking for a place to live?" asked a woman's voice. "Yes, it is," Michael replied, hopeful. "My name is Sylvia. I saw your flyer at the neighborhood bakery. I have a small room in the back of my house that I can rent out." Michael's heart raced. "How much is it?" $500 a month, Sylvia said. "It's small, but it has its own bathroom and a tiny kitchen." It was exactly what Michael could afford. He arranged to see the room on Friday after work, before picking up Miracle from training. Sylvia's house was in the Sea Garden neighborhood, a lower middle-class area in Hoboken. It was a simple white house with a small front garden. Sylvia was a 45-year-old divorced woman who worked as a nursing assistant at a local hospital. The back room was indeed small, about 150 square feet, but it had everything Michael needed: a single bed, a small wardrobe, a table, a compact fridge, and a 2-burner stove. The bathroom was tiny but functional. "Do you allow pets?" Michael asked, hoping for a positive answer. "Depends on the pet," Sylvia said. "What kind do you have?" "A medium-sized dog, very well behaved," Michael explained. "He doesn't bark, doesn't destroy anything, and is super affectionate." Sylvia hesitated. "Can I meet the dog before deciding?" "Of course," Michael agreed. "I can bring him by Saturday morning." They settled the rental details. Michael would have to pay the first month up front plus a $300 deposit. It was nearly all the money he had saved, but at least he'd have a roof over his head. On Friday evening, Michael picked up Miracle from the training center. The dog ran to him as soon as he saw him, wagging his tail happily and jumping with joy. "How did he do?" Michael asked Robert. "Exemplary," the trainer replied, smiling. "He learned 3 new commands in just 4 days. One of the smartest dogs I've ever trained." Michael felt proud of Miracle. Over the weekend, he told the dog about the new room he'd found and his hope that Sylvia would accept them. On Saturday morning, Michael took Miracle to meet Sylvia. The dog behaved perfectly, sitting when told, giving his paw, and even performing a trick he'd learned at training. "What a well-mannered dog," Sylvia exclaimed, clearly impressed. "He's nothing like the strays I usually see around here." "He's special," Michael said, petting Miracle affectionately. "All right," Sylvia decided. "You can stay, but on one condition. If he makes a mess or bothers the neighbors, you'll have to find another place." "Don't worry," Michael promised. "So he won't cause any trouble." Michael moved into Sylvia's room the following Monday, one day before his deadline to leave the farm. Oswald helped with the move and even seemed sad to see them go. "You'll always be welcome here," the older man said. "If I ever buy another farm, I promise I'll look for you." Life in Sylvia's room would take some getting used to. The space was much smaller than what Michael was used to, and he needed to be more organized to live comfortably. But the most important thing was that he and Miracle were together again. The routine remained the same. Miracle stayed at the training school during the week, and Michael picked him up on Fridays. The weekends were Michael's happiest moments, when he could relax with his faithful companion. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now continuing. Things seemed to be settling down when 3 weeks after the move, Michael received news that would change everything again. Richard called him into his office with a serious expression. "Michael, I need to talk to you about the project," said Richard. "Is there a problem?" asked Michael, concerned. "The client cancelled the contract," Richard said bluntly. "They ran into funding issues and decided to postpone construction indefinitely." Michael felt his world crumble again. "What does this mean for me?" "It means I'll have to let part of the team go," Richard said regretfully. "You're an excellent professional, Michael, but as the last one hired—" "I know," Michael interrupted. "Last in, first out." "Exactly," Richard confirmed. "I'll try to find something for you, but I can't promise anything short-term. The market is tough." Michael left Richard's office with his head spinning. Once again, just when he thought he'd found stability, something happened to shatter his plans. He'd be eligible for unemployment benefits, but the amount would be less than his salary, and he still had to pay rent, food, and Miracle's expenses. That night, Michael called Amanda to tell her what had happened. She was shocked by the news and offered to help. "Michael, I'm so sorry," she said. "Richard told me you were doing really well at work." "That's life," Michael sighed. "It feels like every time things start looking up, something goes wrong." "Don't talk like that," Amanda said. "You're young and capable. Another opportunity will come along soon." "I hope so," Michael murmured, "because I don't know how much longer I can keep this up without a paycheck." Amanda promised to keep an eye out for other openings, and Michael started sending his resume to various companies. But the responses were always the same. Either there were no positions available, or they wanted more experienced professionals, or the salary offered was far less than what he needed. Meanwhile, Michael's financial situation deteriorated quickly. The unemployment money barely covered rent and food, and he had to cut back on several expenses just to get by. The first thing he had to sacrifice was the monthly contribution to the training school. Robert had started paying Michael a small amount for Miracle's participation in demonstrations, but Michael always gave back a similar amount to help with the dog's expenses. "Robert, I won't be able to contribute this month," Michael said, embarrassed. "I'm unemployed and can barely pay my own bills." "Don't worry about it," Robert said understandingly. "Miracle is one of the best students I've ever had. He's not here for the money." "But I feel bad not being able to help," Michael insisted. "You're already doing your part by being a responsible owner," Robert said. "Miracle is happy, healthy, and well cared for. That's what matters." Robert's generosity touched Michael deeply. It was comforting to know there were still people willing to help without expecting anything in return. But Michael's financial troubles were far from over. By the end of his second month unemployed, Sylvia came to talk to him about the rent. "Michael, "I really like you and Miracle," she said gently. "But I need the rent money on time to pay my own bills." "I understand, Sylvia," Michael replied. "I just need a few more days. I'm waiting for my delayed unemployment check." "That's fine," Sylvia agreed. "But it can't become a habit, okay? I have my own responsibilities too." Michael promised he wouldn't be late again, but deep down he knew he was walking a tightrope. If he didn't find work soon, he wouldn't be able to keep the room or take proper care of Miracle. The pressure grew even worse when Michael found out Miracle needed a vet visit. The dog had developed a skin irritation that wasn't healing on its own, and Robert suggested he see a professional. "It's nothing serious," Dr. Anthony reassured him after examining Miracle. "Probably a food allergy. I'll prescribe an ointment and a special diet for a few weeks." "How much will it cost?" Michael asked, already dreading the answer. "The visit is $60, the ointment $20, and the special food is $80, Dr. Anthony said. $160. Michael did the math in his head and realized he didn't have that money. He'd spent his last savings on rent and groceries. "Doctor, can I pay in installments?" Michael asked, embarrassed. "Of course," Dr. Anthony said, without hesitation. "You can pay for the visit today and the rest next month, or if you prefer, you can pay everything once you find a job." Once again, Michael felt grateful for the kindness of the people he'd met. Dr. Anthony barely knew him, but was willing to trust him. "Thank you so much, Doctor," Michael said, moved. "I promise I'll pay as soon as I can." "Don't worry about it," Dr. Anthony replied. "What matters is that Miracle gets better." Over the following weeks, Michael intensified his job search. He sent out resumes every day, attended interviews whenever called, and even considered work outside engineering. It was during one of these searches that Michael met Jennifer, a 26-year-old receptionist at one of the companies where he'd interviewed. She had brown hair, green eyes, and a warm smile that brightened Michael's difficult day. "Sorry, could you wait a few more minutes?" Jennifer asked when Michael arrived for the interview. "The engineer in charge is stuck in a meeting." "No problem," Michael said, sitting in the waiting room. Jennifer took a moment during a lull at the front desk to chat with him. "You're a civil engineer, right?" she asked, glancing at his resume. "Yes," Michael confirmed. "Do you know much about it?" "A little," Jennifer smiled. "My dad's an engineer. I grew up hearing about structures, foundations, all that stuff." They talked for a few minutes about engineering, work, and the job market. Jennifer was smart and had interesting opinions on many topics. Michael was drawn to her spontaneous personality and the way she spoke enthusiastically about everything. The interview didn't lead to a job. The company wanted someone with more industrial construction experience, but Michael left with Jennifer's number and an invitation for coffee over the weekend. "You seem like a nice person," Jennifer said as he was leaving. "And I know a lot of people in construction. Maybe I can help you find an opportunity." Michael felt hopeful at the prospect of a new friend, especially someone who might help him professionally. They arranged to meet on Saturday afternoon at a coffee shop in downtown Hoboken. The meeting with Jennifer went better than Michael had hoped. She was fun, smart, and showed genuine interest in getting to know him better. Michael told her about Miracle and how the dog had changed his life, and Jennifer seemed delighted by the story. "How wonderful," she exclaimed. "I've always wanted a dog, but I live in a small apartment and work long hours every day." "Would you like to meet Miracle?" Michael offered. "I can bring him here next week." "I'd love that," Jennifer said excitedly. Over. The following weeks, Michael and Jennifer became good friends. She really knew a lot of people in the construction field and began recommending Michael's name to several contacts. Through her, Michael landed some freelance jobs, small projects, that didn't pay much, but helped supplement his unemployment benefits. Jennifer also fell in love with Miracle when she finally met him. The dog, always sociable, greeted Michael's new friend enthusiastically, licking her hand and letting her pet him. "He's even more beautiful than you described," Jennifer said, stroking Miracle. "And he seems very smart." "Robert says he's one of the cleverest dogs he's ever trained," Michael shared proudly. "Robert?" Jennifer asked. Michael explained about the training school and how Miracle spent his weekdays there. Jennifer was curious to see the place, so Michael took her the following Friday when he went to pick up Miracle. Robert was impressed by how naturally Jennifer connected with the animals. She interacted effortlessly with all the dogs at the school and asked several insightful questions about training techniques. "You have a way with animals," Robert remarked. "Have you ever thought about working with them?" "Actually, yes," Jennifer said. "I've always been interested in veterinary work, but I couldn't afford college." "You don't need to be a vet to work with animals," Robert replied. "There are plenty of other careers in the field: training, grooming, therapy. Work?" Jennifer seemed intrigued by the conversation, and Michael noticed she was genuinely interested in the topic. On the way back, she asked many questions about Robert's work and career possibilities in the industry. As his friendship with Jennifer grew, Michael continued struggling to stabilize his finances. The freelance jobs helped, but they weren't enough to ensure long-term security. Then unexpected news arrived. Richard called Michael with a job offer. "Michael, remember the company that cancelled our project?" Richard asked. "Of course," Michael replied. "They've decided to resume construction, but with some changes," Richard explained. "And they specifically asked for you to return to the project." Michael couldn't believe it. "Wait, they specifically asked for me?" "Apparently they were impressed with the work you did before the cancellation," Richard said. "They want you to oversee the new phase." "What's the offer?" Michael asked, trying to contain his excitement. "Same salary as before, plus a $2,000 bonus for the time you were unemployed," Richard said. "You can start Monday." Michael had to sit down to keep from falling over. After months of hardship, finally, some good news to turn his life around. "Richard, I don't even know how to thank you," Michael said, emotional. "No need to thank me. You've earned this," Richard replied. "Just one thing. The project has a tight deadline. It'll be a few months of intense work." "No problem," Michael assured him. "I'm ready for any challenge." When Michael shared the news with Jennifer, she was almost as happy as he was. They celebrated at a simple pizzeria near Michael's house, and for the first time in months, he felt truly optimistic about the future. "Now you'll be able to plan better," said Jennifer. "Maybe even get a bigger apartment." "That's what I'm thinking," Michael agreed. "A place where Miracle and I can be more comfortable." But the good news didn't stop there. A few days later, Robert called Michael with an unexpected proposal. "Michael, do you remember Jennifer?" asked Robert. "Of course. Why?" "She came to me interested in working here at the training center," Robert said. "We talked a lot, and I really liked her. I need an assistant, and I think she'd be perfect for the job." Michael was surprised. Jennifer hadn't mentioned anything about approaching Robert for work. "Really?" "She didn't tell me anything," Michael said. "She wanted to make sure I was interested before talking to you," Robert explained. "She didn't want to raise false hopes." "And you're interested?" "Very," Robert said. "She has a genuine affection for animals and learns quickly. I offered her part-time to start, so she wouldn't have to leave her current job right away." Michael was happy for his friend. He knew Jennifer wasn't satisfied with her current job and had always dreamed of working with animals. When Michael told Jennifer about Robert's call, she was overjoyed. "I was dying to tell you," she said excitedly, "but I wanted to be sure first. Do you think I should accept?" "Of course," Michael encouraged her. "It's the opportunity you've been waiting for." Jennifer started working at the training center a few weeks later and quickly proved to be a valuable employee. She was patient with the animals, learned their training techniques quickly, and even helped Robert with the administrative side of the business. With Jennifer working at the center, Michael began seeing her more often. She was always there when he picked up or dropped off Miracle, and they started talking more about the dog's progress and the other animals there. It was during one of these conversations that Michael realized his feelings for Jennifer were changing. She was no longer just a friend who had helped him through tough times. He was genuinely interested in her as a woman. But Michael hesitated to show his feelings. He was still recovering from his ex-girlfriend Jessica's betrayal and feared ruining the friendship he'd built with Jennifer. Things got complicated when Jennifer started receiving attention from other men. One day when Michael arrived to pick up Miracle, he found Jennifer talking to a handsome guy who had brought his dog for training. "Michael!" Jennifer called when she saw him. Come meet Peter. He works at a construction company too. Peter was an engineer like Michael, a few years older, and clearly interested in Jennifer. He greeted her with a kiss on the cheek, made jokes that made her laugh, and seemed very comfortable around her. Michael felt uneasy but didn't know how to react. He greeted Peter politely and took Miracle to leave, but the image of the two chatting happily stayed in his mind. "He seems nice," Michael commented to Jennifer a few days later, trying to sound casual. "Peter? Yeah, he's friendly," Jennifer said. "He invited me to dinner on Saturday." Michael felt a pang of jealousy, but tried to hide it. "Good. For you." "Do you think I should go?" Jennifer asked. Michael wanted to say no, that Peter didn't deserve her, that she should give him, Michael, a chance. But instead he forced a smile and said, "If you like him, why not?" Jennifer accepted Peter's invitation and Michael spent Saturday brooding at home. He tried to distract himself by tidying up the room, watching TV and playing with Miracle, but he couldn't stop thinking about Jennifer with another man. When Jennifer arrived at the training center on Monday, Michael couldn't resist asking how the date had gone. "It was nice," Jennifer said, but without much enthusiasm. "Peter is a good guy, but, Michael pressed. "I don't know, he's just too proper, you know?" Jennifer replied. There wasn't any chemistry. Michael felt a mix of relief and hope. Maybe he still had a chance with Jennifer. But his hesitation to confess his feelings came at a cost. A few weeks later, Jennifer started receiving attention from another suitor, this time a client at the training center who had recently gotten divorced and was clearly interested in her. "Bruno invited me to the movies," Jennifer told Michael. "He seems like an interesting person." This time, Michael couldn't hide his frustration. "Jennifer, can I ask you something?" "Of course," she said. "Have you ever thought of me as more than just a friend?" Michael asked, finally gathering his courage. Jennifer stopped what she was doing and looked at him in surprise. "Michael, I know our friendship is important," Michael quickly added, "but I can't pretend anymore that I only see you as a friend." Jennifer was silent for a moment, processing what she'd just heard. "Michael, I feel something for you too," she finally admitted, "but I was afraid of ruining our friendship." "Really?" Michael could hardly believe it. "Really?" Jennifer smiled. "Honestly, I only went out with those other guys because I thought you weren't interested in me that way." Michael stepped closer and hugged Jennifer. It was an immense relief to finally express his feelings and discover they were mutual. "So what do we do now?" Michael asked. "Now we try to make this work," Jennifer said, smiling. "But let's take it slow, okay? Our friendship means too much to me." Michael agreed. They decided to move forward carefully, dating while maintaining their independence and responsibilities. With his personal life stabilizing and work going well, Michael finally managed to move into a better apartment. It was a small 2-bedroom in a housing complex. Nothing luxurious, but much better than the tiny room in the back of Sylvia's house. Miracle loved the new home. There was more space for him to move around, a small laundry area where Michael set up a special corner for the dog, and even a balcony where Miracle could sunbathe during the day. "Look at this, buddy," Michael said to Miracle on their first day in the new place. "We finally have a real home." The relationship between Michael and Jennifer grew naturally. They spent a lot of time together at the training center, went out for dinner or movies on weekends, and Jennifer sometimes stayed at Michael's apartment to look after Miracle when he had to travel for work. Robert was happy to hear about their relationship. "You two make a perfect couple," he said, "and Miracle approves, which is what matters most." It was true. Miracle had accepted Jennifer as part of the family from day one. The dog obeyed. Her played with her and even protected her if a stranger approached suspiciously. For a few months, everything seemed perfect in Michael's life. Work was steady. His relationship with Jennifer grew stronger every day, and Miracle was happy and healthy. But as always happened in Michael's life, just when things seemed settled, a new complication arose to test his resilience. This time, the complication came in the form of a job offer. Richard received a proposal to open a branch of the company in Newark and wanted Michael to oversee the new operation. "It's a great opportunity," explained Richard. "You'd be the general manager of the branch, with a salary 40% higher than what you earn now." And I'd have to move to Newark? Asked Michael. Yes, confirmed Richard, at least for the first 2 years, until the operation stabilizes. Michael was torn. It was truly a major career opportunity, one that could secure his financial stability in the long run. But it would also mean leaving Jennifer, the training school where Miracle had settled in so well, and the entire life he'd built in Hoboken. Can I think about it? Michael asked. Of course, said Richard, but I need an answer by the end of the week. That night, Michael talked to Jennifer about the offer. She listened quietly, but he could see the worry in her eyes. It's a very good opportunity, Jennifer said, trying to stay positive. You have to think about your future. But what about our future? Michael asked. And Miracle? He's so settled here at the training school. We'll figure something out, Jennifer said, though her voice didn't sound very convincing. Michael spent the next few days tormented by the decision. On one hand, he knew professionally it was the opportunity of a lifetime. On the other, he didn't want to leave behind the people and the place that had become his home. It was Miracle who ultimately helped Michael make his choice. The dog had sensed something was different and became more affectionate and attentive than usual, as if trying to make sure Michael wouldn't leave. You don't want me to go, do you? Michael said, stroking Miracle's fur. I don't want to go either. We've built a life here. On Friday, Michael went to Richard and turned down the offer. Are you sure? Richard asked, surprised. That's a lot of money to walk away from. I'm sure, Michael said. My life is here. My family is here. Richard seemed to understand, though he didn't fully agree with Michael's decision. I hope you won't regret it, Richard said. I won't, Michael assured him. When Michael told Jennifer he'd refused the offer, she was moved. You did this for me? She asked. I did it for us, Michael corrected. For you, for me, and for Miracle. We're a family now. Jennifer hugged him tightly, and Michael knew he'd made the right choice. A few months later, Michael got a call that would change everything again. It was Dr. Anthony, and he sounded agitated. Michael, can you come to the clinic? The vet asked. It's about Miracle. Nothing urgent, but it's important. Michael grew worried. Miracle was in good health and hadn't shown any concerning symptoms recently. What happened, doctor? Michael asked when he arrived at the clinic. Something very interesting, doctor, Anthony said, smiling. This morning a woman came in asking about a lost dog. And? The description she gave matched Miracle exactly, Dr. Anthony said. Even the dark spot on his left ear. Michael's heart raced. Do you think she's his owner? It's possible, Dr. Anthony said. She mentioned losing her dog nearly 2 years ago near the river where you found him. What do we do? Michael asked, a mix of fear and curiosity rising in him. She left her number, Dr. Anthony said. Should I call her? Michael hesitated. All these months, Miracle had been his anchor, his faithful companion who'd saved him from despair. The thought of losing him to his original owner was terrifying. But at the same time, Michael knew if Miracle truly belonged to someone else, it would only be right to reunite them. Call her, Michael decided, but I want to be there when she comes to meet Miracle. Dr. Anthony called right away, and the woman, whose name was Stella, said she could come to the clinic that same afternoon. Michael called Robert to let him know he wouldn't be picking up Miracle from doggy daycare and asked Jennifer to go with him to the clinic for moral support. Whatever happens, we'll face it together, Jennifer said, holding Michael's hand. Stella arrived at the clinic at 3 in the afternoon. She was a woman around 60 years old with graying hair and kind eyes. She seemed anxious and nervous. Where's the dog? She asked as soon as she walked in. Dr. Anthony brought Miracle from the back room. The dog walked in normally, but when he saw Stella, he stopped abruptly. For a moment, there was complete silence in the room. Miracle and Stella stared at each other as if recognizing one another. Then Miracle ran to Stella, wagging his tail frantically and jumping up to lick her. The woman began to cry and knelt down to hug the dog. "Rex, my Rex," she said through tears. "I knew you were alive." Michael felt like he'd been punched in the gut. It was clear Miracle knew Stella. They had a real connection, a shared history. How did you two get separated? Dr. Anthony asked. Almost 2 years ago, I took Rex for a walk near the river, Stella explained, still holding the dog. He saw another dog across the street and ran after it before I could react. When I went to look for him, I couldn't find him. I spent months searching, put up flyers, went to shelters. And why did you stop looking? Jennifer asked. I didn't, Stella said. I was still searching. That's why I came here today. I heard Dr. Anthony always helps lost animals. So I decided to try one more time. Michael looked at Miracle, or Rex, who was now lying at Stella's feet, completely relaxed and happy. It was obvious the dog was home. He's yours, isn't he? Michael asked, his voice thick with emotion. He is, Stella confirmed, looking at Michael with gratitude. But you've taken such good care of him. I can see he's healthy and happy. He saved my life, Michael said simply. Stella looked at him with interest. How so? Michael told the whole story, from the day Miracle saved him from drowning to the happy moments they'd shared. Stella listened carefully, sometimes smiling, sometimes moved. Rex has always been a hero, she said when Michael finished. When I was younger, he saved me from a mugging, and once he alerted me to a gas leak in my house. Did you live alone? Jennifer asked. We did, Stella said sadly. My husband passed away 3 years ago and my children live far away. Rex was my only company. Michael's heart broke. It was clear Stella loved Miracle as much as he did, and the dog had been her source of comfort during a hard time. I'm going to miss you so much, Michael said to Miracle, stroking his head. But you need to go home. Wait, Stella said, raising her hand. Who said he has to leave for good? Michael looked at her, confused. What do you mean? You two have a special bond, Stella explained, and I can see how much you love each other. How about we share custody of Rex? Is that possible? Michael asked, hopeful. Why not? Stella smiled. I live alone and work part-time. During the day, it'd be great for Rex to be at the training school you mentioned. And on weekends, he could alternate between my place and yours. Michael could hardly believe what he was hearing. It was a solution that would let everyone keep the dog they loved. You'd really do that? Michael asked. Of course, Stella said. Rex saved your life. Here's the least I can do to repay you. And so what could have been a devastating situation turned into a blessing for everyone. Miracle, who now answered to both Miracle and Rex, ended up with 2 families who loved him. The new routine worked perfectly. During the week, the dog stayed at the training school, where Jennifer and Robert took care of him. Stella picked him up on Tuesdays and Thursdays to spend a few hours at her house, and Michael took him home on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. Weekends alternated between the 2 families. He's happier than ever, Robert remarked a few weeks after the new routine began. Having so many people who love him has been really good for him. It was true. Miracle seemed radiant with all the attention he received. He had learned to adapt to the different homes and routines and treated both Michael and Stella as his true owners. Living alongside Stella also brought unexpected benefits for Michael. The older woman was wise and experienced, offering valuable advice about relationships and life in general. You've found a good woman, Stella said about Jennifer. She has a big heart and loves animals. That says a lot about a person's character. I think the same thing, Michael agreed. Then why don't you marry her? Stella asked bluntly. Michael was surprised by the question. Marriage? We haven't been together that long. My dear, when you find the right person, time doesn't matter, Stella said wisely. I married my late husband after 6 months of dating. We were together for 40 years. Stella's words stayed in Michael's mind. He truly loved Jennifer and could picture spending the rest of his life with her. Maybe it was time to seriously think about making their relationship official. But before Michael could make any decisions about marriage, a new twist tested his ability to handle unexpected problems once again. The twist came in the form of a job opportunity for Jennifer. A major pet store chain was opening its first location in New York City and offered Jennifer the position of general manager for the animal training and behavior department. It's my dream job, Jennifer told Michael. Great salary, benefits, and the chance to work with what I truly love. That's wonderful, Michael said, trying to hide his concern. Where's the store located? In Williamsburg, Jennifer replied. It would be almost a 2-hour train ride every day from here. Michael's stomach sank. 2 hours of commuting each day meant Jennifer would have much less time to spend with him. Worse, if the job worked out, she might want to move closer to work. "Are you going to take it?" Michael asked. "I want to," Jennifer said hesitantly, "but I'm worried about the distance, and about Robert too. He's counting on me at the training school." "What did Robert say?" "That I should take it," Jennifer sighed. "He said it's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and that it would be selfish of him to hold me back." Michael knew Robert was right, but he couldn't hide his sadness at the thought of seeing Jennifer less. "What about us?" Michael asked. "What happens to our relationship?" "We'll make it work," Jennifer said, though her voice didn't sound very convinced. Plenty of couples handle distance. Jennifer accepted the job and started working at the A. Williamsburg store 2 weeks later. As expected, their relationship routine changed drastically. She left home at 5:30 in the morning and didn't return until 9 at night, too tired to do anything but eat dinner and sleep. Weekends became the only time Michael and Jennifer could spend quality time together. But even these were complicated, because Jennifer often had to work on Saturdays, and when she was free, sometimes she just wanted to rest. "I feel like we're becoming strangers," complained Michael after a few weeks of the new routine. "It's just an adjustment phase," said Jennifer, but she didn't seem convinced herself. "Things will get better once I get used to the job." But things didn't get better. In fact, they got worse when Jennifer started receiving offers to work in other cities. The company was pleased with her performance and wanted her to help open new stores in Rochester and Newark. It would just be a few days of travel each month, Jennifer explained. Nothing permanent, but still, Michael felt like he was reliving the hardest moments of his life, when everything he'd built was crumbling around him. "Jennifer, I feel like I'm losing you," Michael said, vulnerable. "You're not losing me," Jennifer replied, hugging him. "It's just that things are more complicated now." But Michael could sense something shifting between them. Jennifer was more distant, less emotionally available. Work was consuming all her energy and attention. The situation reached its limit when Jennifer received an offer to move permanently to New York City and take over coordinating all the chain stores in the state. "It's the chance of a lifetime," Jennifer said, but her voice was sad. "They're offering me 3 times what I make now." "And you want to accept?" Michael asked, already knowing the answer. I think so," Jennifer admitted. "Michael, this opportunity could secure my financial future forever. I can't pass it up." Michael understood Jennifer's reasoning, but that didn't make it any less painful. They'd either have to end the relationship or try to make long-distance work, which seemed nearly impossible. "What does this mean for us?" Michael asked. "I don't know," Jennifer said, tears in her eyes. "I love you, Michael, but I also need to think about my future." They spent the next few weeks trying to find a solution, but every alternative seemed impractical. Michael couldn't move to New York City because of his job and his commitment to Miracle and Stella. Jennifer couldn't turn down such an important career opportunity. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now, continuing. The final decision came during a conversation in Michael's apartment, with Miracle lying between them on the couch, as if sensing the tension in the air. "I'm going to accept the offer," Jennifer said finally. "But that doesn't mean our relationship is over." "Jennifer, we both know long distance doesn't work," Michael said, realistic, "especially with how busy you'll be in the new job." "So what are you suggesting?" Jennifer asked. "That we take a break for now," Michael said, heartbroken. "If it's meant to be, life will bring us back together someday." Jennifer started crying and Michael held her tight. Miracle lifted his head and rested it on both their laps, as if trying to comfort them. "I don't want to lose you," Jennifer said. "I don't want to lose you either," Michael replied, "but I also don't want you to miss this opportunity because of me." They stayed in each other's arms for a long time, knowing this would be one of the last times they'd be together like this. Jennifer moved to New York City a month later. The goodbye was painful for everyone, including Miracle, who had grown used to her presence. Robert was also sad to lose such a dedicated employee, but wished Jennifer success in her new journey. "Take good care of Michael and Miracle," Jennifer told Robert on her last day. "They are special people." "Don't worry," promised Robert. "And you take good care of yourself there in New York City." With Jennifer's departure, Michael found himself alone again, but this time the loneliness felt different. He had experienced true love and knew he was capable of building meaningful relationships. The pain of separation was intense, but it wasn't as desperate as it had been after his breakup with Jessica. Miracle sensed Michael's emotional state and became even more affectionate and attentive. The dog seemed to understand his owner was sad and needed extra support. "At least you won't abandon me, right?" Michael said to Miracle, stroking his head. Stella also noticed the change in Michael's mood and offered to help. "My son, I know you're hurting," she said, "but time heals all wounds. And who knows, maybe destiny has a nice surprise in store for you." Michael tried to focus on work and his activities with Miracle to overcome the sadness. He started attending the training school more regularly again, helping Robert with some administrative tasks to keep himself busy. It was during one of these visits that Michael met Julia, a 30-year-old veterinarian who had begun holding consultations at the school once a week. She was an elegant, intelligent woman with a passion for animals. "Are you the owner of the famous Miracle?" Julia asked when Robert introduced them. "That's me," Michael smiled. "Why famous?" "Robert talks about him all the time," Julia said. "He told me he's one of the smartest dogs he's ever trained." Michael felt proud, as he always did when someone praised Miracle. Julia examined the dog and was impressed by his health and behavior. "You've taken such good care of him," Julia complimented. "It's rare to see an animal so well looked after." Over the following weeks, Michael and Julia began talking whenever they met at the school. She was interesting and had many stories to share about her profession. Michael was drawn to her passion for animals and her strong personality. But Michael was still processing the end of his relationship with Jennifer and didn't feel ready to start something new. Julia seemed to understand and didn't push for anything beyond friendship. "You're still in love with her, aren't you?" Julia asked one day, bluntly. "How did you know?" Michael asked, surprised. "By the way you talk about her," Julia said, smiling. "And that's okay. There's no rush to get over a great love." Julia's understanding touched Michael. It was comforting to have someone who grasped his situation without judgment or pressure. But destiny had other plans for Michael. 3 months after Jennifer left, he received an unexpected call. "Michael," it was Jennifer's voice on the other end. "Jennifer," Michael exclaimed, his heart racing. "How are you?" "I'm okay," Jennifer said, but her voice sounded tired. "And you, how's Miracle?" "We're fine," Michael said. "Missing you, but fine." There was a pause in the conversation, and Michael could sense Jennifer wanted to say something important. "Michael, I need to tell you something," Jennifer finally said. "What is it?" "The job here isn't what I expected," Jennifer admitted. "It's too stressful, the people are overly competitive, and I barely have time to breathe. I'm unhappy." Michael grew concerned. "What are you going to do?" "I'm thinking of quitting," Jennifer said. "I know it sounds crazy walking away from such a good salary, but I can't take it anymore." "Jennifer, are you sure?" "I am," Jennifer said firmly. "I realized money isn't everything. I was happier working at the school with Robert, even if I earned less." "And if you come back, where will you work?" "Robert said there'll always be a spot for me," Jennifer replied. "And I was thinking, is there still a chance for us?" Michael stood silent for a moment, processing what he had just heard. Jennifer was willing to leave everything behind to return to Hoboken and try to rebuild their relationship. "Jennifer, are you sure you won't regret this?" Michael asked. "It's a lot of money to walk away from." "I'm sure," Jennifer said. "These months have made me realize what truly matters in life. And you, Miracle, Robert, the little school, you're what matters to me." Michael felt a wave of emotion. "Then come back soon," he said, his voice thick with feeling. "We've missed you so much." Jennifer returned to Hoboken 2 weeks later. Robert welcomed her with open arms, and Miracle nearly fainted with joy when he saw her. The dog leaped, ran in circles, and wouldn't stop licking her face. "I missed you so much too," Jennifer told Miracle, laughing and crying at the same time. The reconciliation between Michael and Jennifer was natural and intense. Their time apart had taught them just how much they loved each other and how important they were to one another. "I never want to go through that again," Jennifer said, wrapped in Michael's arms. "Money can't buy happiness." "And I learned it's worth fighting for what you love," Michael replied. With Jennifer back, Michael's life regained its balance. She returned to her work at the little school. They resumed their weekend routines together, and Miracle had his mom back during the week. But the experience of separation had changed Michael's perspective on relationships. He no longer wanted to waste time on doubts or hesitation. If he loved Jennifer, he wanted to make it official. That's when Michael decided to propose. He shared his plans with Stella, who was overjoyed by the news. "Finally!" Stella exclaimed. "I was starting to think you two would drag your feet forever." "Do you think she'll say yes?" Michael asked nervously. "Son, a woman doesn't leave her dream job to come back to a man unless she's madly in love with him," Stella said wisely. Michael planned the proposal carefully. He wanted it to be special but also simple and meaningful. He chose the place where it had all begun, the banks of the Hudson River, where Miracle had saved him. One Saturday afternoon, Michael invited Jennifer for a walk. He told her he wanted to show her an important place in his life. They strolled to the riverbank with Miracle running ahead, sniffing at plants and chasing butterflies. "This is where it all started," Michael said when they reached the exact spot where Miracle had pulled him from the water. "Really?" Jennifer asked, looking around. "This is where you two met?" "Yes," Michael confirmed. "If it weren't for Miracle, I wouldn't be here today. And if I weren't here, I never would have met you." Jennifer smiled, touched by the emotion in Michael's voice. Miracle trotted over and sat between them, as if sensing this was an important moment. "Jennifer," Michael said, kneeling and pulling a small box from his pocket, "will you marry me?" Jennifer covered her face with her hands, surprised and overwhelmed. "Michael, I know we've been through a lot," Michael continued, "but I also know we're stronger together. I love you, and I want to spend the rest of my life with you." "Yes," Jennifer exclaimed, kneeling to embrace him. "Of course I'll marry you." Miracle barked happily and jumped around them as if celebrating too. Michael slipped the ring onto Jennifer's finger and kissed her, while the dog who had saved his life rejoiced beside them. "Now, we're officially a family," Michael said, looking at Jennifer and Miracle. "The best family in the world," Jennifer agreed. The wedding was set for 6 months later, and it would be a simple yet meaningful ceremony. Michael and Jennifer decided to hold the celebration at the very dog training school, in the backyard where Miracle had learned so much and where they had fallen in love. Robert was moved when he found out the ceremony would take place on his property. "It would be an honor," he said. "You both deserve all the happiness in the world." Stella also got involved in the wedding preparations, helping Jennifer choose her dress and offering decoration advice. She had become like a mother to the couple, and they considered her part of the family. "Miracle will be our ring bearer," Jennifer decided. "He can carry the rings." "Do you think he'll manage?" asked Michael. "He's the smartest dog I know," Jennifer replied. "I'm sure he'll do just fine." Robert began training Miracle specifically for the wedding. The dog learned to walk slowly, balancing a small cushion with the rings tied to it. He also learned to stay still during the ceremony and come when called. "He's taking this more seriously than you two," Robert joked during one of the rehearsals. The weeks leading up to the wedding were filled with preparations and excitement. Michael and Jennifer were radiant, and even Miracle seemed to sense something special was happening. But as always in Michael's life, a problem arose to test his ability to handle adversity. This time, it came from a completely unexpected source. A week before the wedding, Michael received a visit from 2 men who identified themselves as investigators from an insurance company. They wanted to ask questions about the accident Michael had suffered in the river nearly 3 years earlier. "What accident?" Michael asked, confused. "I never reported any accident to insurance." "No, sir," said one of the investigators, "but your ex-girlfriend, Jessica Williams, filed a claim with her insurance, alleging you attempted suicide and..." that it caused her psychological trauma. Michael couldn't believe what he was hearing. What do you mean? She's seeking compensation for emotional damages, the second investigator explained. She claims she witnessed your suicide attempt and that it deeply affected her mental health. But that's a lie, Michael protested. Jessica wasn't even there when it happened. And I didn't try to kill myself. I accidentally fell into the river. That's why we're here, said the first investigator. We need to hear your side of the story. Michael told them the whole truth, how he was going through a difficult time, how he had walked to the bridge, slipped and fallen into the water, and how Miracle had saved him. The investigators took notes but seemed skeptical. Do you have any witnesses to what happened? One of them asked. No, Michael admitted. There was no one around when it happened. What about the dog? Was he yours at the time? No, I found him after the accident, Michael explained. He appeared out of nowhere and saved me. The investigators exchanged glances, clearly doubting Michael's story. They asked a few more questions and left, saying they'd be in touch if they needed more information. That night, Michael told Jennifer what had happened. She was outraged by Jessica's actions. What a despicable person, Jennifer exclaimed. How could she make up such a lie? I don't understand why she'd do this, Michael said, confused. We broke up over 2 years ago. Money, Jennifer said simply. She must need money and decided to try getting it through fraud. Michael worried about the possible consequences of Jessica's accusation. If the investigators didn't believe his version, he could be accused of fraud too. What if they don't believe me? Asked Michael. The truth always comes out, said Jennifer, holding his hand, and we'll fight for it. In the following days, Michael sought out a lawyer to guide him through the situation. The professional listened to the whole story and told Michael he needed to gather evidence to prove his version of events. Do you have any proof that you were going through a hard time back then? Asked the lawyer. I have the documents from my job termination, the breakup, and the move to my aunt's house, said Michael. That's good, said the lawyer. It proves you really were in a tough spot, but we need something that supports your account of the accident. Michael left the lawyer's office feeling discouraged. How could he prove something that had happened nearly 3 years ago with no witnesses? Then he had an idea. Michael remembered that on the day of the accident, after being saved by Miracle, he had stopped by a bakery near the river to dry off and warm up. Maybe someone there remembered him. Michael returned to the bakery, which was still in the same place. The owner, a woman named Beth, recognized him immediately. Of course I remember you, said Beth. You came in here soaking wet with a dog. Looked like you'd had quite a scare. Do you remember what day it was? Asked Michael, hopeful. I sure do, said Beth. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I remember because it had rained in the morning and business was slow. Beth not only remembered Michael, but had also noted the date in her ledger because she had given him coffee and bread for free, marking it as a donation. Here it is, said Beth, showing the ledger. March 15th, donation, coffee and bread for wet young man. Michael nearly cried with relief. Finally, he had proof he was telling the truth. Beth agreed to testify to investigators if needed. With the evidence in hand, Michael gave the information to his lawyer, who contacted the insurance company. The investigation was reopened, and this time, the investigators took Michael's story more seriously. They also discovered that Jessica had tried similar scams in other situations, always claiming psychological trauma caused by ex-boyfriends. Her pattern of behavior made it clear this was an attempt at fraud. A week later, Michael got a call from his lawyer with good news. The case has been dropped, said the lawyer. Jessica withdrew her complaint when she found out we had evidence against her. Could she try again? Asked Michael. Unlikely, said the lawyer. Now she's under investigation for attempted fraud. If she tries anything like this again, she could face criminal charges. Michael felt an enormous weight lift off his shoulders. The ghost of the past had been put to rest for good, and he could focus on his future with Jennifer. It's over, Michael told Jennifer when he shared the good news. Now we can get married in peace. I never doubted we'd make it, said Jennifer, hugging him. The truth always wins. The following Saturday, Michael and Jennifer married in a heartfelt ceremony in the backyard of the training school. Stella was Jennifer's matron of honor, Robert was Michael's best man, and Miracle performed his role as ring bearer perfectly, delivering the rings without dropping them once. "You're united not just by love, but also by the four-legged friend who brought you together," said the officiant during the ceremony, smiling at Miracle. After exchanging rings, Michael, Jennifer, and Miracle embraced in the middle of the yard, surrounded by friends and family. It was the happiest moment of Michael's life, and he knew it had all started on that terrible day by the river, when an unknown dog decided to save his life. During the reception, Michael gave an emotional speech, thanking everyone who had been part of his journey. "3 years ago I thought my life was over," said Michael, with Miracle sitting by his side. "But this guy here taught me that sometimes when we think we've reached the end, we're actually just at the beginning of something much better. And now we'll live happily ever after," added Jennifer, kissing Michael as Miracle wagged his tail in approval. Married life brought even more stability and happiness to Michael. He and Jennifer moved into a small but comfortable house with a backyard where Miracle could run and play freely. Stella remained an active part of the family, visiting them regularly and helping care for Miracle. Robert expanded the training school and invited Michael to become a partner in the business. It was an opportunity to work with something he truly loved, alongside people he cherished. "You've always had a way with animals," said Robert, "and you understand better than anyone how important a dog can be in a person's life." Michael accepted the offer and took charge of the administrative side of the school, while Jennifer handled customer service and training. They worked together every day with Miracle always nearby, supervising everything. A year after the wedding, Jennifer gave Michael the best news of all. They were going to have a baby. "Really?" Michael asked, disbelief in his voice. "Really?" Jennifer smiled, showing him the pregnancy test. "Miracle is going to be a big brother." Michael hugged Jennifer and then knelt to talk to Miracle. "You hear that, buddy? There's going to be another member in our family." Miracle wagged his tail as if he understood exactly what was happening. Jennifer's pregnancy went smoothly, and Miracle became extremely protective of her. The dog never left her side, as if he knew something special was happening. "He's going to be a great big brother," Dr. Anthony remarked during a checkup for one of the school's pregnant dogs. Dogs have a natural instinct to protect children. When the baby arrived, a boy they named Gabriel, Miracle fell in love with him instantly. The dog lay beside the crib, standing guard and only leaving when absolutely necessary. "Look how he watches over Gabriel," Stella said, touched. "It's like he knows he has a responsibility now." Michael watched Miracle with Gabriel and remembered how the dog had saved his life years ago. Now Miracle was ready to protect the next generation of the family. "He saved my life, and now he'll help protect my son's," Michael told Jennifer. "There's no dog more special in the world. He's our four-legged guardian angel," Jennifer agreed. The years that followed were the happiest of Michael's life. The training school thrived, Gabriel grew up healthy and bright, and Miracle remained the loving heart of the family. When Gabriel started walking, Miracle became his inseparable companion. The dog had endless patience with the boy, letting him lean on him as he learned to balance and shielding him from any danger. "Daddy, why is Miracle so special?" Gabriel asked one day when he was 4. Michael knelt beside his son and stroked Miracle's fur. "Because a long time ago, when Daddy was very sad and thought there was no hope left, Miracle appeared and saved me." "How did he save you?" "He showed me there's always hope," Michael said, his voice thick with emotion. "And he taught me that true love sometimes comes from where we least expect it." Gabriel hugged Miracle, who wagged his tail and licked the boy's face. "I love Miracle too," Gabriel said. "He's the best dog in the world." "He sure is," Michael agreed, "and he always will be." On a Sunday afternoon, 10 years after the day Miracle saved Michael in the river, the family was gathered in their backyard. Michael watched Jennifer playing with Gabriel, now 5 years old, while Miracle chased a ball the boy threw. Stella sat beside Michael, now 72, but still active and involved in family life. "Look how happy you all are," said Stella, smiling. "Who would have thought it all started with an accident at the river?" "It wasn't an accident," Michael said firmly. "It was destiny. Miracle came into my life exactly when I needed him most. And look at everything he brought with him," Stella added, Jennifer, Gabriel, the training school, our family? Michael nodded. Miracle hadn't just saved his life that day in the river, he had saved his entire future. "Dad!" Gabriel shouted, running toward Michael. Miracle learned a new trick. Michael smiled and stood to see what his son wanted to show. Miracle sat patiently in the middle of the yard, waiting for attention. "Show us, Miracle," Gabriel said excitedly. The dog lay down, rolled over, played dead, then stood up wagging his tail, waiting for the applause he always received. "Very good," Michael clapped. "You're the smartest dog in the world." As the family celebrated another one of Miracle's tricks, Michael reflected on the journey they had taken together. 10 years ago, he had been a desperate young man who thought his life was over. Now he was a fulfilled man, married to the woman he loved, father to a wonderful son, owner of a thriving business, and guardian of the most special dog in the world. All because a golden-coated mutt had decided to jump into a river to save a stranger. "Thank you," Michael whispered into Miracle's ear as he stroked his head. "Thank you for saving me. Thank you for giving me a family. Thank you for teaching me it's always worth fighting." Miracle looked at Michael with his intelligent brown eyes and wagged his tail, as if to say, "You're welcome. It was a pleasure saving your life." And as the sun set over their small home, Michael knew that no matter what challenges life might bring, he had his family, he had Miracle, and he had learned that even in the darkest moments, there is always a light waiting to guide us back to happiness. The story of Michael and Miracle became legend at the training school and in their neighborhood. Robert always told new clients about the dog who had saved his owner's life, and then became the heart of a happy family. "This is proof that dogs are angels in disguise," Robert would say. "They come into our lives exactly when we need them most." And every time someone told the story, Miracle wagged his tail proudly, knowing he had fulfilled his mission on Earth. To save Michael, bring a family together, and teach everyone that true love has no shape, size, or species. It simply exists. And when we find it, our lives are changed forever. Years passed. Gabriel grew up and became a veterinarian, inspired by the love for animals Miracle had always shown him. Jennifer continued working in training and became one of the most respected professionals in the area. Michael expanded the business and opened branches of the training school in other cities. Stella lived to be 89, always present in the family's life, and when she passed, she left a letter for Michael that read, "Thank you for letting me be part of the family Miracle created. You gave me the happiest years of my life." And Miracle. Miracle lived to be 17, a remarkable age for a dog his size, always surrounded by the love of the family he had saved and built. When his time came to leave, he was lying in the backyard of the house, his head resting on Michael's lap, while the whole family said goodbye to the four-legged angel who had changed their lives forever. "Thank you for everything, my friend," said Michael, tears in his eyes. "You fulfilled your mission. You taught us to love, gave us a family, and showed us there's always hope." Miracle closed his eyes for the last time, passing away in peace, knowing he had left behind a legacy of love that would last forever. Years later, Michael's family still tells Miracle's story to anyone who will listen. There's a photo of him at the entrance of the training school with the inscription, "Miracle, the dog who taught us that saving one life can save the whole world." And whenever someone asks if the story is true, Michael smiles and replies, "Every word." Because miracles happen every day, but only those with eyes to see can recognize them. But the story of Michael and Miracle was far from over at that seemingly final moment. 7 years after Miracle's passing, when Gabriel was already 12 and showing clear signs of following his childhood dream of becoming a veterinarian, an unexpected discovery would change everything once again. It was a rainy Tuesday afternoon when Michael received a call that would leave him completely shaken. On the other end of the line was a woman who introduced herself as Claire, Grace's daughter. "Michael, it's Claire, Grace's daughter," said the nervous voice. "Claire," Michael exclaimed, surprised. "How are you? It's been so long since we last spoke." Claire was Grace's youngest daughter, who lived in Columbus and rarely visited New York City. Michael had only met her a few times during the years he had known Grace. "I'm fine, thank you," said Claire. "But I'm calling for a specific reason. I'm sorting through my mother's things, and I found something I think you need to know." "What is it?" Michael asked, curious. "My mother left a sealed letter with instructions for it to be given to you 7 years after her passing," Claire explained. "She also left a key to a storage unit she rented here in Columbus." Michael was intrigued. Grace had never mentioned anything about storage units or special letters. In all their years together, she had always been very open about everything. "What kind of letter?" Michael asked. "I don't know," said Claire. "It's sealed, and she was very specific about the timing. She said it could only be opened after 7 years, and only by you." "And the storage unit?" "I don't know what's in there either," Claire admitted. "She's been paying rent for over 15 years, but she never took me there. Can you come pick up the letter and the key, or I can mail them?" Michael felt this was too important to handle through the mail. "I'll come there," he decided. "How about next weekend?" "Of course," said Claire. "I'll send you my address." Michael told Jennifer about Claire's call, and they were both puzzled by the mystery Grace had left behind. "Why would she wait 7 years for you to find out something?" Jennifer asked. "I have no idea," Michael said, "but knowing Grace, it must be something important." Gabriel was also curious when he heard about his parents' trip. "Can I come too?" the boy asked. "I want to see Columbus, and besides, Grandma Grace always said she had secrets to tell me when I grew up." Michael and Jennifer decided it would be a good opportunity for a family trip. It had been a while since they'd left New York City, and Gabriel was on school break. The following Saturday, they hit the road to Columbus. The trip took about 8 hours, and they used the time to reminisce about Grace and the memories they had of her. "She was always so mysterious about her past," Jennifer recalled. "She rarely spoke about her youth." "That's true," agreed Michael. "She always said she had stories to tell, but they were a secret for now." Claire welcomed them into her home, a simple but cozy house on the outskirts of Columbus. She was a 45-year-old woman, resembling Stella in her features but with a more reserved personality. "I'm so glad you came," said Claire, hugging Michael. "Mom talked about you all the time. She said you were the family she always wanted." Claire led Michael to her home office and retrieved a yellowed letter and an old key from a small safe. "Here," she said, handing the items to Michael. "Mom was very specific about the instructions. The letter can only be opened by you, and the key is for locker 47 at Safe Keep on Main Avenue." Michael held the letter carefully. Written in Stella's neat handwriting, it read, "To Michael, my son at heart, open only 7 years after my passing. With love, Stella." "Should I open it now?" Michael asked Jennifer and Gabriel. "Open it," said Gabriel eagerly. "I want to know what Grandma Stella wrote." Michael carefully opened the envelope and pulled out several handwritten pages. He began reading aloud. "My dear Michael, if you're reading this letter, it means 7 years have passed since I left, and the time has come for you to learn the whole truth about our family. Yes, our family, because you were always much more than a friend to me. There are things about me and about Miracle that I never told anyone, not even my own children. I kept these secrets for decades, waiting for the right moment to reveal them. Now that moment has come. First, I need to tell you about my late husband, Joseph. He wasn't just an ordinary man, as I always said. Joseph was a rescue dog trainer for the Civil Defense. For 20 years, he trained dozens of dogs to save. Lives in floods, landslides, and other disasters. Joseph had a special gift with animals. He said some dogs are born with a specific mission on Earth, and his job was simply to help them discover what that mission was. He called these dogs four-legged angels. One of those special dogs was Rex, the dog you know as Miracle. But Rex wasn't my dog, Michael. He belonged to Joseph and had been trained specifically for water rescues. Joseph passed away from a heart attack when Rex was only 2 years old. The dog was devastated. He refused to eat, didn't want to play. I tried to care for him, but I could see Rex wasn't happy with me. He would always stare at the river, as if waiting for a mission. That's when I made a decision that might seem cruel, but one I knew was right. I took Rex near the river and let him go. I told him his mission wasn't over yet, and that when the time came, he'd know what to do. 2 days later, Rex disappeared. I searched for him for weeks, but it was as if he'd vanished from the world until you showed up at my door with him telling me the dog had saved your life. At that moment, I knew Joseph was right. Rex had found his true mission, saving you. It wasn't a coincidence, Michael. Rex had been trained his whole life to do exactly what he did that day at the river. But there's more, my son. In the locker, Claire will show you. You'll find all the documents and photos of Rex's life with Joseph. There are also other items that belong to you now, including some surprises I'm sure will touch you and your family deeply. Joseph always said that when a rescue dog saves a life, they form an eternal bond with that person. Rex didn't just save your life, Michael. He chose you to be his family forever. Take good care of the treasures I've left for you. And always remember, you didn't find Rex by accident. You were destined for each other from the very beginning. With all my love and gratitude for the wonderful family you've given me, Stella. P.S. There's one last surprise in the storage unit that I'm sure will bring Gabriel special joy. Joseph always said a rescue dog's mission never truly ends. It just transforms. When Michael finished reading the letter, there were tears in everyone's eyes. Gabriel was the first to speak. So you're saying Miracle was a trained rescue dog? It seems so, said Michael, moved. He was fulfilling his mission when he saved me. Should we see what's in the storage unit? Suggested Jennifer. The Safe Keep storage unit was a 20-minute drive from Claire's house. It was a large building with hundreds of small compartments. Unit 47 was on the second floor, and when Michael opened the door with the key Stella had left, they found a treasure trove of memories. There were dozens of photos of Joseph with various dogs, including many of Rex as a puppy. There were training certificates, merit medals, and even newspaper clippings about successful rescues performed by Joseph and his dogs. Look at this photo, said Jennifer, picking up a picture of Joseph with a young Rex. He's training Miracle to jump into the water. And this one, said Gabriel, showing another photo. Miracle is pulling a dummy out of the water, just like he did with you, Dad. But the most exciting discovery was in a box stored at the back of the unit. Inside was a plush puppy, clearly new, with a note tied around its neck. For Gabriel, from your Grandpa Joseph and Grandma Stella. This is Rex Jr., son of Rex and Luna, a civil defense rescue dog. He carries the same lineage and the same special gift as his father. Take good care of him, for he carries on Miracle's legacy. Date of birth, July 15th, 2023. Gabriel couldn't hold back his emotions. Is this Miracle's puppy, his son? Michael checked the date. The puppy had been born exactly 2 months before the letter was opened, as if Stella had planned every detail. How is this possible? Asked Jennifer. Stella passed away 7 years ago. Claire, who had been watching the discovery, smiled. Mom left very specific instructions with a kennel specializing in rescue dogs. She paid up front for them to breed one of Rex's daughters with a male of the same lineage, and to care for the puppy until you came to get him. She planned this for years, said Michael, amazed. She knew we'd want to continue Miracle's legacy. The puppy was a perfect copy of Miracle, with the same golden fur and the same dark mark on his left ear. His brown eyes shone with the same intelligence Michael recognized in his father. What should we name him? Asked Gabriel, already smitten. How about Hope? Suggested Jennifer, because that's what he represents, the continuation of the hope Miracle brought to our family. Hope, repeated Michael, stroking the puppy. It's perfect. They spent the rest of the day at the storage unit, uncovering more treasures Stella had left behind. There was Joseph's journal with detailed instructions on rescue dog training, professional equipment, and even contacts for other trainers who could help with Hope. Stella wanted you to carry on my husband's work, said Claire. She always believed you had the dedication for it. Michael was moved by the discovery, but also felt the weight of responsibility. Training rescue dogs was a complex task, requiring technical knowledge and a lot of time. I don't know if I can do this, Michael confessed to Jennifer on the drive back to New York City. Training a dog to save lives is a huge responsibility. You don't have to do this alone, said Jennifer. We have the training school, Robert, and now all those contacts Stella left behind. We can learn together. Gabriel, who was in the back seat playing with Hope, joined the conversation. "Dad, I want to help train Hope. When I become a vet, I'll be able to help other rescue dogs too." Gabriel's determination touched Michael deeply. Perhaps this was truly the next chapter of their lives, honoring Miracle's legacy by training the next generation of rescue dogs. When they got home, Robert was fascinated by Joseph's story and the puppy Hope. As an experienced trainer, he immediately recognized the animal's special potential. "This pup has something different," said Robert, watching Hope. "He has the same presence as his father. We could turn this place into a rescue dog training center. Do you really think it's possible?" Michael asked. "More than possible," Robert assured him. "With the knowledge Joseph left behind, the contacts and our training experience, we could create something very special here." The idea of transforming the training school into a rescue dog training center excited the whole family. It was a way to honor Miracle, Joseph, and Stella, while potentially saving many lives in the future. But as always seemed to happen in Michael's life, just when everything appeared to be falling perfectly into place, new obstacles arose to test his resolve. The first hurdle came in the form of bureaucracy. To officially train rescue dogs, they would need special licenses, certifications, and a series of approvals from government agencies. The process was long, expensive, and complicated. "It'll take at least 18 months to process," explained the lawyer Michael consulted. "And that's if everything goes smoothly. You'll need a vet's report, facility inspections, training." "Course it. How much will it cost?" Michael asked, already dreading the answer. "Between $50,000 and $70,000, the lawyer said, "just to get the paperwork in order." Michael left the lawyer's office feeling discouraged. It was a lot of money and time for something he wasn't even sure would succeed. Maybe it was better to forget the idea and simply raise Hope as a regular pet. But when he got home and saw Gabriel playing with Hope, Michael realized that giving up would mean betraying not only Miracle's legacy, but also his son's dreams. "How did it go with the lawyer?" Jennifer asked. Michael explained the bureaucratic and financial challenges, and Jennifer grew thoughtful. "Maybe there's another way to do this," she said. "What if we talk to the contacts Joseph left? They might know simpler ways to get started." Michael called several of Joseph's contacts and discovered there were less bureaucratic alternatives. They could begin by training dogs for rescue non-profits, which didn't require the same certifications as official agencies. One of the contacts, a man named Mark, who had worked with Joseph for years, offered to come to New York City to teach Michael and his team the basics. "Joseph was my mentor," Mark said during the call. "It would be an honor to help continue his work." Mark arrived in New York 2 weeks later, bringing training equipment and a wealth of experience. He was impressed with the training school's facilities and Hope's potential. "This pup has champion blood," Mark said, watching Hope respond to basic commands. "With the right training, he could become one of the best rescue dogs in the country." For a week, Mark taught Michael, Jennifer, Robert, and Gabriel the fundamentals of rescue dog training. It was intense work, requiring patience, discipline, and deep technical knowledge. "Training a rescue dog isn't just about teaching commands," explained Mark. "It's about developing a special bond based on absolute trust. The dog needs to know it can rely on you in any situation." Gabriel showed exceptional talent in training. By 12, he already displayed an intuitive understanding of animal behavior that even impressed Mark. "This boy has a gift," Mark told Michael. "He'll be an excellent trainer when he grows up." But the true test of Hope's potential came unexpectedly. During an afternoon training session, one of the dogs from another client escaped the school and ran toward the river near the property. The dog, a Labrador named Bruno, wasn't a strong swimmer and began panicking in the water. Michael and Robert rushed to help, but Hope, just 6 months old, reacted faster. The puppy jumped into the water without hesitation and swam to Bruno, letting the Labrador lean on him to reach the shore. It was exactly what Miracle had done for Michael years ago. "He hasn't even been trained for this yet," said Mark, amazed. "He acted on pure instinct." This is exactly how Joseph described the special dogs. The episode confirmed for Michael that they were on the right path. Hope had truly inherited his father's gift and deserved the chance to reach his full potential. Under Mark's guidance, they began structuring a rescue dog training program at the school. It would be a long-term project, but with clear, achievable goals. Let's start small, Mark suggested. Train 2 or 3 dogs at a time, working with local NGOs. As you gain experience and reputation, you can expand. The first client of the new program was Hope himself. Gabriel became his primary trainer, supervised by Mark and supported by the whole family. The puppy's progress was remarkable. By 8 months, Hope had mastered all basic obedience commands. By 10 months, he was learning specialized water rescue techniques. At 12 months, he could locate people struggling in the water and bring them to safety. He's ready for his first real mission, Mark declared after a particularly successful training session. Hope's first mission came sooner than expected. A water rescue NGO from Atlantic City contacted the school for help, searching for a missing fisherman in a lake. It's a real-life situation, the NGO coordinator explained, over the phone. The man went fishing yesterday morning and never returned. We found his boat, but there's no sign of him. Michael was nervous about sending Hope on a real mission so soon. The dog was only a year old, and a life-or-death situation was a heavy responsibility. "Do you think he's ready?" Michael asked. Mark. "He's more than ready," Mark assured him. "And besides, there's always a support team. Hope won't be working alone." Gabriel begged to join the mission, but Michael thought it was too dangerous for a 12-year-old. "Dad, please," Gabriel insisted. "I'm Hope's primary trainer. He works best with me." Mark sided with Gabriel. "The boy's right. Rescue dogs perform best with their primary trainers, and it'll be good experience for him." Reluctantly, Michael agreed. They traveled to Atlantic City on Saturday morning, bringing Hope and all the necessary equipment for a water search operation. The lake where the fisherman had disappeared was large, with dense vegetation in several areas. The rescue team had already searched the most obvious spots without success. "We need Hope to sniff the water for any trace of the fisherman," the operation coordinator explained. "If he's alive somewhere isolated, the dog may be our only chance of finding him." Michael Johnson put the special collar on Hope and led him to the edge of the lake. The dog sniffed the water for a few minutes, clearly focused on a scent only he could detect. "He found something," said Gabriel, interpreting Hope's behavior. "He wants to go that way." Hope led the team to an area of the lake covered in aquatic vegetation. There, hidden among the branches, was the fisherman, alive but injured and unable to call for help. "My God, he's alive!" shouted one of the rescuers, diving into the water to save the man. The fisherman had hit his head on a branch and was disoriented, barely managing to cling to the vegetation to stay afloat. He had been in the water for over 24 hours, hypothermic and nearly out of strength. "If you hadn't found him in the next few hours, we wouldn't have saved him," said the rescue team's doctor. "That dog saved this man's life." Gabriel was beaming with pride, and Hope seemed to understand the importance of what he had done. The dog wagged his tail happily as the whole team praised him. "Just like his father," Michael said, moved. "Born to save lives." The news of Hope's success spread quickly among the local rescue organizations. Soon, the training center was receiving requests to train more dogs and participate in search operations. "You've created something very special here," said the coordinator of the Atlantic City NGO during a visit to the center. "It's been a long time since the region had such a competent rescue dog training facility." With the program's success, Michael decided to formalize the operation. They officially registered the Miracle Rescue Dog Training Center, named after the dog that had started it all. Robert became the center's technical director. Jennifer took charge of administration, and Gabriel, though still a child, was officially named a junior trainer specializing in water rescue dogs. "It's amazing how life works," Michael remarked, during the center's grand opening. "It started with a dog saving me, and now we're training dogs to save others." But as always happened in Michael's life, just when everything seemed to be going perfectly, a new complication arose to test his resolve. This time it came in the form of a legal dispute. Joseph's family, who had never appeared during all the years Stella was alive, decided to challenge the inheritance she had left to Michael. A nephew of Joseph's named Theodore showed up with a lawyer, claiming that all belongings related to rescue work, including the equipment and knowledge left in the storage, should belong to the biological family. Stella had no right to donate. These things, Theodore argued during a tense meeting. Joseph was my uncle, and everything that was his should stay in the family. Where were you all these years? Michael asked, outraged. Stella raised Miracle alone, took care of everything. Alone. You never showed up to help. That doesn't matter, Theodore's lawyer said. What matters is that Joseph left no will specifying the fate of the professional equipment. Technically, it should have been inherited by the family. The legal dispute halted the center's operations for weeks. Michael couldn't use Joseph's equipment or the training methods described in the journal until the matter was resolved in court. This is ridiculous, Jennifer said, frustrated. We're helping people, saving lives, and they want to stop everything out of greed. They don't even know anything about training, Gabriel added. They just want to sell the equipment. Michael hired a lawyer to defend him, but the professional was clear about the difficulties of the case. Legally, they have a point, the lawyer explained. Stella had a right to Joseph's personal belongings, but professional equipment can be considered specific assets of the profession. And how long could it take to resolve this? Asked Michael. Months, maybe years, said the lawyer. And even if you win, they could appeal. Michael felt discouraged. After all the work to honor Miracle and Joseph's legacy, it seemed everything could be destroyed by a petty family dispute. That's when an unexpected discovery completely changed the course of the situation. Claire, Stella's daughter, was organizing more of her mother's belongings when she found a hidden folder in the lining of a closet. Michael, you need to see this, Claire said during an urgent call. I found documents that change everything. Michael took the first flight to Columbus, eager to discover what Claire had found. When he arrived, she was waiting for him with a folder full of old papers. Look, Claire said, showing a yellow document. It's Joseph's will, dated 6 months before he died. Michael read the document carefully. Joseph had left very clear instructions that all his professional equipment and knowledge should go to Stella, specifically so she could continue his work or pass it on to someone worthy of the responsibility. And there's more, Claire said, showing another paper. It's a letter from Joseph to Stella, explaining that he knew she'd be the right person to preserve his legacy. Joseph's letter was touching and made his intentions clear. My dear Stella, if you're reading this, it means I've gone before you. I want you to know that all the years we spent together were the best of my life. You always understood my passion for rescue dogs, and I know you'll know what to do with everything we built together. I leave all my professional equipment and knowledge to you, not just because it's yours by right as my wife, but because I trust you'll find the right person to continue our work. Look for someone who loves animals as we do, someone who understands that saving lives is more important than making money. If my family tries to question this decision, show them this letter. They never understood my work, never cared about the dogs, never offered help. You are my true family and the right person to preserve my legacy. Why did your mother hide this? Michael asked. I think she wanted to be sure you were truly committed to the work before using this document, Claire said. Mom was always very cautious. Michael returned to New York City with the documents that would settle the legal dispute once and for all. When Theodore's lawyer saw Joseph's will and letter, he immediately withdrew the objection. There's nothing to argue, the lawyer admitted. The will is clear and properly recorded. Theodore was furious with the decision but had no legal grounds left to continue the dispute. This isn't over, he threatened before leaving. I'll find a way to prove you don't deserve these things. Michael chose to ignore Theodore's empty threats and focused on resuming the center's activities. With the legal issue resolved, they could return to training dogs and assisting in rescue operations. Hope continued to develop magnificently, participating in several successful missions. Gabriel also grew in experience and knowledge, becoming an increasingly skilled trainer. You have a natural talent for this, Mark told Gabriel during one of his visits. At just 12 years old, you already understand things many adults take years to learn. The center began gaining regional recognition. Dogs trained by them participated in flood rescues, searches for missing persons, and even operations during natural disasters. You're making a real difference, said the commander of the New York City Fire Department during a visit to the center. This is exactly the kind of work our region needed. But the greatest recognition came when Hope and Gabriel were invited to compete in a national water rescue dog competition. It was a prestigious event that brought together the country's best trainers and dogs. "Are you sure you want to do this?" Michael asked Gabriel. "There'll be a lot of pressure competing against experienced adults." "I'm sure," Gabriel said firmly. "Hope and I are ready. Besides, it's a chance to show that great-grandfather Joseph's work lives on." The competition would take place in Washington, D.C., and would require Gabriel and Hope to demonstrate advanced water rescue skills in different scenarios. "It's a great opportunity," Mark said. "Even if you don't win, the experience will be valuable." Michael, Jennifer, and Gabriel traveled to Washington, D.C. with Hope and all the necessary equipment. The competition brought together over 50 teams from different states, including many well-known professionals in the field. "We're the only ones with such a young trainer," Jennifer remarked when they arrived at the competition site. "People are looking at us with curiosity." Gabriel was nervous but determined. He had trained intensely for months, and Hope had never shown such focus and skill. The first test was a basic rescue. The dog had to swim to a person struggling in the middle of an artificial lake and bring them to shore. Hope executed the task perfectly, with Gabriel commanding from a distance. "Excellent time," as announced the judge. 1 minute and 42 seconds. It was one of the best times in the first round. Gabriel felt more confident for the next tests. The second test was more complex, rescuing 2 people simultaneously at different points in the lake. Hope would have to choose the order of rescue and complete both operations without additional help. "This one's tough," Michael murmured to Jennifer. "It requires a lot of judgment from the dog." Hope assessed the situation for a few seconds before acting. She chose the person in greater distress first, completed the rescue, and then returned for the second. The total time was excellent, and the strategy showed exceptional intelligence. "This dog is special," one of the judges commented. "We rarely see such analytical ability in such a young animal." The final test was the most challenging, a nighttime rescue with low visibility, where the dog had to locate a missing person in a large area using only scent and hearing. Gabriel was tense. This was the kind of situation that required years of experience, and he knew they were at a disadvantage against veteran trainers. "Trust Hope," Michael told his son. "She has the same instincts as her father." When their turn came, Gabriel led Hope into the search area. The dog sniffed the air for a few minutes, clearly focused on a specific scent. "She's found something," Gabriel whispered to Michael. Hope began swimming toward an area none of the other teams had searched, a spot covered by vegetation where it would be nearly impossible to spot someone hiding. "There!" Gabriel shouted when Hope started barking. She found them. The person was exactly where Hope had indicated, hidden among aquatic plants. The search time was the best in the entire competition. "Unbelievable!" exclaimed the head judge. 17 minutes to locate someone in a 2-square-mile area. That's a new competition record. When the final results were announced, Gabriel could hardly believe it. He and Hope had won the national competition, defeating pairs with decades of experience. "The winner of the main category is Gabriel Johnson and Hope from New York City," announced the host. At 12 years old, Gabriel becomes the youngest trainer to win this competition. Gabriel cried with emotion as he received the trophy, and Hope wagged her tail proudly beside him. Michael and Jennifer were radiant with happiness. "You did it, son," said Michael, hugging Gabriel. "You honored the legacy of Miracle and Joseph." The victory brought national recognition to the center. They began receiving invitations to train dogs in other states and even to teach in professional training courses. "You've turned a personal tragedy into something that benefits thousands of people," said the president of the Rescue Dog Confederation during the award ceremony. "This is exactly the kind of work the country needs." But as always happened in Michael's life, when everything seemed perfectly on track, a new twist would change everything once again. The twist came in the form of an unexpected offer. An international rescue organization offered Gabriel a full scholarship to study veterinary medicine and specialize in rescue dogs in France at one of the best schools in the world. "It's a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity," explained the organization's representative during a video call. Gabriel would be the youngest student ever accepted into the program and would leave as one of the most qualified specialists in the world. And how long would it last, asked Michael. 5 years, replied the representative. 3 years of intensive undergraduate study, 2 years of specialization, all expenses paid, including housing and meals. Gabriel fell silent, clearly torn between the opportunity and the fear of leaving his family and Hope. I don't know, Gabriel finally said. It's a long time away from home. You don't have to decide right now, said Jennifer. This is too important a decision to make in a hurry. That night the family talked at length about the offer. It was truly a unique opportunity that could secure Gabriel's professional future in an extraordinary way. If I go, who will take care of Hope? Asked Gabriel. We will, Michael assured him. And when you return, you'll have much more knowledge to continue the work. But 5 years is a long time, Gabriel insisted. Hope might even forget me. Michael remembered his own story with Miracle and how the true love between a dog and its trainer is never lost. Even with time, Hope will never forget you, Michael assured him. And you can visit during breaks. After a week of reflection, Gabriel decided to accept the scholarship. It was a chance that might never come again, and he knew it would be the best way to honor the legacy of Miracle and Joseph. I'll accept it, Gabriel said during a family meeting, but on one condition. I want you all to continue the work here and train other boys to care for rescue dogs. That's an excellent idea, Robert agreed. We can create a special program for young trainers. Gabriel's farewell was emotional for the whole family, especially for Hope, who clearly sensed something was changing. The dog was sad for several days after her main trainer left. He'll be fine, Michael reassured, petting Hope. And so will you. We'll take good care of you until Gabriel comes back. With Gabriel in France, Michael took over Hope's direct training, with help from Jennifer and Robert. It was a big challenge because the dog was used to Gabriel's specific style. Hope misses him, Jennifer observed after a few weeks. He doesn't respond to commands with the same enthusiasm. That's when Michael had an idea. They started having regular video calls with Gabriel, letting Hope see and hear his favorite trainer. Hi, Hope, Gabriel would say through the computer screen. How are you, buddy? Are you behaving for Dad? Hope immediately recognized Gabriel's voice and would get excited, wagging his tail and trying to lick the computer screen. He's doing much better, Michael observed after a few video calls. Having regular contact with Gabriel makes all the difference. Months passed, and Hope continued working on rescue missions under Michael's supervision. The dog maintained his excellence, participating in several successful rescues. Meanwhile, Gabriel sent regular updates about his studies in France. He was learning advanced techniques he had never imagined and was already speaking French fluently. I'm learning about dogs specialized in avalanches, earthquakes, even search and rescue in rubble, Gabriel shared during a video call. When I come back, we'll be able to expand the center's work significantly. During Gabriel's second year in France, something unexpected happened. Hope began showing strange behaviors during training, as if he were searching for something or someone. He's acting different, Robert noted, more restless, less focused. Michael thought Hope was just missing Gabriel more, but Jennifer suspected there was something else. What if we take him to the spot where Miracle saved you? Jennifer suggested. Sometimes dogs feel the need to revisit important places. Michael found the idea interesting. The following Saturday, they took Hope to the banks of the Hudson River, the exact spot where everything had begun nearly 15 years earlier. Hope ran around curiously, sniffing everything and seeming to search for something specific. Suddenly, he started barking toward the water, as if he had seen something. What do you think he's seeing? Jennifer asked. Michael looked in, the direction Hope was indicating, and saw something that made his blood run cold. A man was struggling in the water, clearly in distress. My God, someone's drowning, Michael shouted. Without waiting for a command, Hope leaped into the water and swam quickly toward the struggling man. It was exactly the same scene that had happened with Miracle years ago, but now Hope was performing the rescue. The man was conscious but exhausted, and Hope brought him to shore with the same perfect technique he had learned in training. Michael and Jennifer rushed to help, pulling the man out of the water. "Thank you," the man said between coughs. "I slipped off the rock and couldn't swim back to shore." "Are you okay?" Jennifer asked. "Do you want us to call an ambulance?" No, the man said. "I'm fine, just shaken up. What an amazing dog you have." When Michael took a closer look at the man Hope had saved, he was stunned. It was Theodore, Joseph's nephew, who had tried to take the training equipment. "Theodore?" Michael asked, surprised. "Michael?" Theodore was equally surprised. "What are you doing here?" Michael explained they had brought Hope for a walk to the spot where Miracle had made his first rescue. Theodore listened quietly, clearly moved. "So this dog is the son of the Rex who saved you?" Theodore asked. "Yes," Michael confirmed. "And now he saved you too?" Theodore was thoughtful for a moment, petting Hope, who had sat down beside him. "I owe you an apology," Theodore finally said. "I was wrong to try and take Uncle Joseph's equipment. You're doing exactly what he would have wanted." "There's no need to apologize," Michael said. "What matters is that you're okay." "Yes, you do," insisted Theodore. "I was jealous seeing you all continue his work because I never had the courage to try. I thought it would be easier to sell everything and forget." "It's never too late to learn," said Jennifer. "If you'd like, you can visit our center and see how it works." Theodore accepted the offer, and a few weeks later, he visited the Miracle Rescue Dog Training Center. He was amazed by all the work Michael and his team had accomplished. "Uncle Joseph would be proud," said Theodore, watching other dogs being trained. "You've turned his dreams into reality. Want to join us?" offered Michael. "We always need more dedicated people." To everyone's surprise, Theodore agreed. He moved to New York City and began working at the center, first as a volunteer, then as an official employee. He discovered he had a natural talent for caring for the dogs and became an expert in veterinary first aid. "Funny how life works," remarked Robert. "The guy who wanted to destroy our work ended up becoming part of the team." By Gabriel's third year in France, the center had become a national benchmark for rescue dog training. They trained not only for water rescues, but also for searches in difficult terrain, locating missing persons, and even detecting survivors in rubble. Hope had become the center's most famous dog, participating in missions across the country. Her story, of being the offspring of a heroic dog who carried on her father's legacy, inspired people everywhere. "You've created something far greater than you imagined," said the Civil Defense Commander during a visit. "This center has saved dozens of lives in recent years." Then came news that would change everything once again. Gabriel called from Paris with an unexpected proposal. "Dad, I've been offered a position here in France after graduation," Gabriel said during a video call. "An international company wants to hire me to train rescue dogs for humanitarian missions worldwide." Michael's heart tightened. He had always suspected Gabriel might not return to the United States, but hearing it officially was painful. "Is it a good opportunity?" Michael asked, trying to hide his sadness. "It's incredible," Gabriel said excitedly. "I'd work with rescue dogs in earthquakes, tsunamis, wars, like being a doctor without borders, but with dogs." "What do you want to do?" Jennifer asked. Gabriel was silent for a moment. "I don't know," he admitted. "It's my dream job, but it also means being away from family and hope forever." "You don't have to decide now," Michael said. "Finish your training first, then we'll see." But Michael knew Gabriel would likely accept the offer. He was young, talented, and had the whole world ahead of him. It would be selfish to try to keep him in the United States. That night, Michael talked to Jennifer about the possibility of Gabriel not returning. "I always knew this could happen," Jennifer said. "He's too talented to be limited to our small center." "But what about Hope?" Michael asked. "She loves Gabriel." "Hope will understand," Jennifer said. "Dogs know when their owners are following their destiny." A few weeks later, Gabriel made his decision. He called the family during a special video conference, with Hope positioned in front of the camera. "I've decided to accept the job in France," Gabriel said, "but not forever. I want to work there for 5 years, learn everything I can, and then come back to the US to expand our center." "Are you sure?" Michael asked. "I am," Gabriel said, "and I have a proposal for you. How about we create a network of training centers across the country? I'll train people in France and other countries, then return to implement everything here. It was an ambitious but fascinating idea. Michael could imagine training centers in various cities, all following the methods developed by Joseph and refined by Gabriel. "It's a brilliant idea," said Robert when he heard the proposal. "We can start planning right away." Hope seemed to understand that Gabriel wouldn't return anytime soon, but she showed no sadness. On the contrary, the dog appeared to accept the situation with the same wisdom her father Miracle had always shown. "She knows Gabriel is doing the right thing," observed Jennifer. "Dogs understand life's purpose better than we do." During Gabriel's 4th year in France, the center continued to grow. They opened a branch in Atlantic City, specializing in water rescues, and another in Newark, focused on rural searches. Theodore had become one of the lead instructors, specializing in first aid and emergency veterinary care. His transformation from antagonist to essential team member was one of Michael's favorite stories. "Sometimes people need saving from themselves," Michael mused. Theodore needed to find a purpose, and the dogs taught him that. Hope, now 5 years old, had reached the peak of her career as a rescue dog. She had participated in over 100 successful missions and trained dozens of other dogs. "Is she ready to retire?" asked Jennifer during a routine vet checkup. "Not yet," said Dr. Anthony. "She's in perfect health and still shows enthusiasm for the work. She can continue for a few more years." It was during a particularly difficult rescue mission that Hope demonstrated why she was considered one of the best rescue dogs in the country. An 8-year-old child had gone missing during a flood in a small town, and search teams couldn't locate any trace of her. "It's been 6 hours since she disappeared," explained the operation commander. "The chances of survival decrease with every passing hour." Michael, Jennifer, and Hope arrived at the scene by late afternoon. The flood had created a maze of turbulent waters and debris, making the search extremely dangerous. "It's a tricky situation," Michael noted, studying the conditions. "Strong currents, lots of obstacles." Hope carefully surveyed the area before getting to work. She sniffed in several directions, clearly focused on a specific scent only. She could detect. "She's found something," said Michael, interpreting the dog's behavior. Hope led the team for nearly 2 kilometers through flooded areas, always following a trail invisible to humans. Finally, she stopped in front of a partially submerged house and began barking. "Inside," said Michael. "She's telling us. The child is in there." Divers entered the flooded house and found the girl in the attic, frightened but alive. She had climbed up when the water rushed in and had been trapped there for hours. "How did the dog know she was here?" asked one. "Of the rescuers. Special instinct," Michael explained. "Some dogs are born with that gift." The girl's rescue was widely covered in the media, and Hope became nationally known as the son of the hero dog. Reporters from across the country wanted to tell the story of the lineage of life-saving dogs. "It's an incredible story," said a journalist during an interview. 3 generations of dogs dedicated to saving lives. "Actually, it's more than 3 generations, Michael corrected. "Joseph trained many dogs before Miracle. We're just continuing a legacy that spans decades." The fame brought recognition, but also responsibilities. The center began receiving visits from officials, researchers, and other trainers eager to learn their methods. "You've become a national reference," said the National Coordinator of Civil Defense during an official visit. "It would be interesting to formally document the methods you've developed." Michael accepted the suggestion and began working on a rescue dog training manual, compiling everything he had learned from Joseph, Mark, Gabriel, and his own experience. "This will be an important book," said Robert. "It will allow others to create similar centers everywhere." The work on the manual took several months. Michael interviewed veterinarians, experienced trainers, and even dog owners who had been saved by animals trained at the center. "We want it to be thorough," Michael explained to Jennifer, "from basic techniques to complex emergency situations." During this time, Gabriel sent exciting news from France. He had been selected to lead an international rescue mission after an earthquake in Nepal. "I'll be commanding a team of 20 rescue dogs from 10 different countries," Gabriel shared during a video call. It's the first time someone so young has been given this responsibility. "We're so proud of you," said Michael, emotional. Joseph and Miracle would be overjoyed. "I want to dedicate this mission to them," Gabriel replied. "And to Hope too. He's still my inspiration." Gabriel's mission in Nepal was an absolute success. His team managed to rescue 17 people from the rubble, and he received international recognition for his work. "My son is saving lives." On the other side of the world, Michael told Jennifer, proud, Miracle's legacy has reached even there. But as always happened in Michael's life, moments of great joy were followed by unexpected challenges. This time, the challenge came in the form of a concerning medical discovery. During a routine checkup, Dr. Anthony detected something abnormal in Hope. "I found a minor heart irregularity," the veterinarian explained. "It's nothing serious yet, but we need to monitor it." "What does this mean?" Michael asked, worried. "It means it might be time to start reducing intense physical activities," said Dr. Anthony. "Hope can still train young dogs, but he should participate in fewer field missions." The news was hard for the whole family. Hope had always been an athletic and active dog, and the idea of limiting him felt cruel. "He's still young," Jennifer said sadly. "Only 5 years old." "Working dogs sometimes develop heart issues earlier," Dr. Anthony explained. "It's no one's fault, just the price of a life dedicated to saving others." Michael decided to tell Gabriel about Hope's condition during their next video call. Gabriel was visibly emotional upon hearing the news. "He deserves to retire as a hero," Gabriel said. "Hope has saved dozens of lives. Now it's our turn to take care of him." "Don't you want to come back to be with him?" Michael asked. Gabriel thought for a moment before answering. "I do. But I know Hope would rather I keep saving lives here. He understands my mission is bigger now." Michael admired Gabriel's maturity. At 18, his son already understood that sometimes true love means making sacrifices for the greater good. Hope was officially retired from field missions in a special ceremony at the center. Local officials, other trainers, and even some people he had saved came to pay tribute. Hope participated in 127 rescue missions, directly saving 34 lives and contributing to the rescue of dozens more, said the Civil Defense Commander during the ceremony. "He's one of the most successful rescue dogs in United States history." Hope seemed to understand he was being honored. He remained seated with dignity throughout the entire ceremony, wagging his tail whenever he heard applause. "Now he'll dedicate himself to training the next generation," said Michael during his speech. "His legacy will live on through the dogs he teaches." And truly, Hope adapted magnificently to his role as an instructor. He showed endless patience with young dogs, teaching techniques that only experience can provide. "He's a natural-born teacher," observed Robert. "The puppies learn faster with him than with any human." It was during this time that an exciting surprise arrived at the center. Luna, a rescue dog who had worked with Hope on several missions, gave birth to a litter of puppies, and Hope was the father. "There are 6 puppies," announced Dr. Anthony after the birth, "all healthy and with excellent genetic potential." Michael was moved when he saw Hope's tiny puppies. It was as if Miracle's legacy was multiplying, ensuring there would be special dogs saving lives for generations. "Look at this," said Jennifer, watching Hope care for the puppies. "He's already teaching them." It was true. Hope showed remarkable paternal instincts, protecting the puppies and even starting to train them with small basic exercises. "What should we name them?" asked Michael. "How about names related to hope and the future?" suggested Jennifer. "Faith, courage, strength, joy, peace, and victory." They were perfect names. Each puppy developed a unique personality, but all showed the same protective instinct and intelligence as their parents. Over the next few months, Michael divided his time between finishing the training manual, caring for Hope, and starting the basic training of the 6 puppies. "It'll be interesting to see which one stands out the most," remarked Robert, watching the puppies play. "They're all special," said Michael, "but I have a feeling Courage will follow most closely in his father's footsteps." Courage was a golden male, almost identical to his father, who from an early age showed leadership and bravery in play. He was always the first to explore new places and the first to protect his siblings when there was any danger. When the puppies turned 6 months old, Gabriel made a special video call to meet them. Hope visibly perked up when he saw his old trainer on the screen. "Wow, they're so beautiful," exclaimed Gabriel. "They look just like their father." "This one is Courage," said Michael, picking up the standout puppy. "I think you'll like him." Gabriel watched Courage on the screen and smiled. He has the same determined look in his eyes as Hope did when he was a puppy. He's going to be a great rescue dog. "We'd like you to choose which one will be trained specifically to work with you when you return," offered Michael. Gabriel was touched by the offer. "Really? You'd do that?" "Of course," said Jennifer. "It's only fair. You planted the seed for this center. You deserve to reap the fruits." Gabriel chose Courage, just as Michael had predicted. The puppy would be trained specifically to work with Gabriel when he returned to the United States. "I'll be back in 2 years," Gabriel promised. "And when I return, we'll make this center even greater." Over those 2 years, Courage was trained intensively, following a special program developed by Michael in consultation with Gabriel through regular video calls. "He's learning very quickly," Michael reported. "He has the same natural intuition as his father." Hope personally supervised Courage's training as if he knew he was preparing his successor. It was touching to see the veteran dog teaching the young pup. "They have a special connection," observed Jennifer. "It's like Hope is passing all his knowledge to him." The other 5 puppies were also trained and placed in partner centers across the country. Faith went to Los Angeles, Strength to Philadelphia, Joy to New Orleans, Peace to Miami, and Victory to San Diego. "Now we have a national network of dogs from the Miracle lineage," said Robert proudly. "The legacy has spread across the entire United States." During this time, Michael's training manual was finally published and became a national reference. Training centers across the country began using his methods. "You've democratized knowledge," said the Civil Defense Coordinator during the book's official launch. "Now anyone can learn to properly train rescue dogs." Michael dedicated the book to the memory of Joseph and Miracle, who taught us that saving a life can change the world, and to Hope, who proved that true love passes from generation to generation. When Gabriel finally returned to the United States after 6 years in France, he was welcomed as a national hero. He had become one of the world's most respected experts in rescue dogs, with experience in international missions across dozens of countries. "Welcome back, son," said Michael at the airport, hugging Gabriel emotionally. "It's good to be home," said Gabriel, now a mature and confident 24-year-old man. "I can't wait to meet Courage in person." The reunion between Gabriel and Hope was heartwarming. The veteran dog immediately recognized his old trainer and showed genuine joy, despite his physical limitations from his heart condition. "He's older, but he still has the same intelligent look," Gabriel observed, stroking Hope. "And Courage is eager to meet you," said Michael, bringing the young dog forward. The meeting between Gabriel and Courage was magical. It was as if the two had known each other for years, so immediate was their connection. "Amazing," Gabriel murmured. "It's like Hope himself when he was young." With Gabriel back, the center underwent a major expansion. They implemented international techniques Gabriel had learned in Europe, created new training programs, and established partnerships with global rescue organizations. "Now we're officially an international center of excellence," Gabriel announced during a press conference. "We'll train not just dogs, but people from all over Latin America." The center became a destination for students from various countries who came to learn the techniques developed by Michael's family. It was the international recognition Joseph had always dreamed of for his work. "If Joseph could see this now," said Theodore, moved. "His dream of creating a rescue dog school has finally come true." Hope, despite his limitations, remained the heart of the center. Now 8 years old, he had become a kind of revered mascot, respected by all visitors. "He's a living legend," said an Argentine researcher who came to study at the center. "His story has inspired the creation of similar centers across the continent." It was during a quiet afternoon, as Hope rested in the center's yard, with Michael by his side, that something happened to change everything once again. A boy about 10 years old appeared at the center's gate, wet and frightened, holding a small, trembling puppy. "Please, "Help my dog," the boy cried. He fell into the river and almost drowned. Michael rushed to help, and when he saw the boy and the soaked puppy, he had a powerful déjà vu. It was exactly how he had arrived at the center years ago with Miracle. "Easy now, easy," said Michael, taking the puppy from the boy's hands. "We'll take care of him." The boy's name was Peter. He lived nearby and had found the abandoned puppy near the river. When he tried to save it from the water, he almost drowned too, but managed to pull it out at the last minute. "He's too little to be alone," said Jennifer, examining the puppy. "He must be only 2 months old." "Can I keep him?" asked Peter, tears in his eyes. "My parents will kill me if they find out I went to the river alone." Michael looked at the boy and saw his own story repeating. A young boy who had risked everything to save a dog, forming a special bond through shared danger. "What's your name?" Michael asked. "Peter Johnson," the boy replied. "I live nearby with my grandma." Michael nearly fell out of his chair. Johnson was his last name too, and there was something familiar about the boy's face. "What's your grandma's full name?" Michael asked, his heart racing. "Rose Johnson," said Peter. "Why?" Michael was stunned. Rose Johnson was his distant cousin, the daughter of an uncle he barely knew. Peter was family, and he was reliving the exact same story that had happened to Michael years ago. "Peter, I think we're family," Michael said, emotional. "Your Grandma Rose is my cousin." The boy looked surprised, but Michael could see in his eyes the same determination that had always defined his own family. "Does that mean I can really keep the dog?" Peter asked hopefully. Michael looked at Hope, who had come closer and was sniffing the newly rescued puppy. The veteran dog wagged his tail as if approving the situation. "It means you came to the right place," Michael said, "and that this puppy was lucky to be found by you." In that moment, Michael understood the story was repeating because it was meant to. Miracle's legacy wasn't just about dogs saving people, it was about building a family united by love for animals and the mission to save lives. "What should we name the puppy?" Peter asked. Michael looked at the small, wet dog, then at Hope, then at Gabriel, who had come over to see what was happening. "How about Destiny?" Michael suggested. "Because it was destiny that brought you here." Peter smiled and cradled the puppy in his arms. "Destiny. I like that name." And so, the story that had begun 15 years earlier with a desperate man and a heroic dog gained a new chapter, with a new generation ready to carry on the legacy of love and rescue. Michael looked around and saw his grown family, Jennifer, Gabriel, Hope, Courage, and now Peter and Destiny. This was exactly what Miracle had envisioned from the start, not just saving one life, but building a family devoted to saving many. "Welcome to the family," Michael said to Peter and Destiny, as Hope wagged his tail in approval of the new members. And in that moment, Michael knew Miracle's story would never truly end. It would only transform, grow, and multiply, touching new lives and creating new heroes for generations to come. The center continued to thrive with the fresh energy Peter brought, proving to be just as talented as Gabriel had been at his age. Destiny grew up strong and healthy, showing early signs of the same intelligence and courage as the other dogs. In their special lineage, Hope lived to be 12, always surrounded by the love of the family he had helped build. When his time came, he lay in the same spot where his father, Miracle, had spent his final moments, in the backyard, his head resting on Michael's lap. "Thank you for carrying on your father's legacy," Michael whispered. "You fulfilled your mission perfectly." Hope closed his eyes for the last time, knowing he had left the world a better place, with a family devoted to saving lives and a new generation of special dogs ready to continue the work. Today, 20 years after the day Miracle saved Michael in the river, the Miracle Rescue Dog Training Center is known worldwide as one of the best rescue dog training centers on the planet. Gabriel has become an international authority on the subject, Peter followed in his footsteps and specialized in water rescues, and Destiny has saved over 50 lives. At the entrance of the center, there's a bronze statue of Miracle pulling Michael out of the water, with a plaque that reads, "In memory of Miracle, who taught us that an act of love can change the world forever." And every time a new dog arrives at the center, whether for training or adoption, Michael tells the story of the golden stray who saved a desperate man and, unknowingly, planted the seed of a family dedicated to saving lives. This is the story of how an abandoned dog became the guardian angel of an entire family. Michael always concludes when telling the full story, and how a moment of despair turned into the greatest blessing of our lives. Because sometimes, when we think we've reached the end, we're actually at the beginning of something miraculous. The end of the story. Now tell us what you thought of this touching story and where you're watching from. If you have something to share with us, leave a heartfelt comment below. Do you believe destiny brings special people and animals together? We'd love to hear your thoughts on this saga of love, resilience, and purpose. Thank you so much for joining us on this journey. Don't forget to like and, most importantly, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other heartwarming stories.